He definitely had the looks, but every day he found himself sneaking glances at his younger sister while she was in the bath. He even snatched his master's silk stockings, not even trying to hide it. This all started when somehow ended up inside a novel, taking on the role of the villain's senior brother. He had just one goal, get taken out by Yi, the main guy, so he could bounce back to Earth. Was totally ready to give up, thinking it was over for him, when out of nowhere, a junior sister sprinted in and knocked Yi aside with a solid kick. The junior girls, who were normally pretty chill, suddenly switched up and went full protective mode over their favorite senior brother. They started acting wild, saying they'd do whatever it takes to keep him safe, even if it meant going after Ichun. It wasn't only the junior sisters acting off. Even the usually chill and serious master started behaving weirdly out of nowhere. She ran her tongue across her lips and shoved back onto the bed. Woke up in a whole new world, straight out of a power fantasy novel, but he was stuck as the villain. If he wanted any shot at getting back to Earth and seeing his family again, he had to stick to his role and not mess up. Didn't waste time, he grabbed the sketchy potion the system handed over and dumped it right into the river without a second thought. His junior sister had a spirit pet that totally lost it after drinking some nasty, polluted water. Came up behind her fast and wrapped his arms around her waist, catching her totally off guard. He straight up held her down with this creepy look on his face, acting like he was about to do something messed up. Right about now in the story, this was the moment Yi was supposed to show up and save the girl. This whole thing was messing with Yi and getting on his nerves. He nudged him to drop his classic line about how life flips, 30 years one way, 30 years the other, reminding everyone not to mess with someone just because they're down now. He watched Yi charge forward, sword ready, looking like he was locked in and not holding back. Was hyped, he was ready for whatever came next, totally locked in on finishing his mission. In the next moment, Ichun got sent flying by his junior sister's kick. She shot a weird look like she couldn't figure out what was going on with him. She wondered if he was good or if something was up, hoping this awkward outsider wouldn't kill the vibe. She glanced around, trying to get her bearings, but deep down she just wanted to keep things rolling. Just sat there, totally lost. None of this made sense. He couldn't figure out what was going on with his junior sister. She was acting way off. Things went south fast when flashed this calm, almost sweet smile. Couldn't believe this dirtbag actually went after his senior brother. For a second he wondered if he should just end this dude right here. His eyes went wide now the hero's own crew was ready to take him out. At this point everything was just straight up chaos. Was totally lost and wished he could just ask the system what was going on. The system just kept loading, stuck on that update screen telling him to hang tight. Spun around, totally defeated. Strolled over, a sly grin on her face. Out of nowhere, the sweet and innocent younger sister totally switched up. Now she had some serious vibes. Got so scared he just bolted and didn't look back. After running off, Ying finally dropped the act and showed he was dead serious. Not too long ago, a random memory from her past life just popped into her head. Back in her last life was just like how remembered, he showed up and saved her, totally like a hero stepping in at the perfect moment. After spending more time together, she started catching real feelings for him. She didn't catch on until the very end of the novel, but that's when it finally hit her. He turned out to be a total player, just using girls and never serious about anyone. His actions ended up getting their whole sect wiped out. Turns out, who everyone thought was kind of a creep, was actually the only one who really looked out for her. Stayed sharp and didn't let her guard down. She wanted to get to the bottom of things, so she started checking stuff out for real. She kept an eye on without him noticing and found out that the next day, he headed down the mountain and ended up renting out a whole watermelon field for himself. His pet mink had torn through a bunch of watermelons on the farm, and now the farmers were basically ready to take it out for good. Stepped in and held them back. He picked up a watermelon and shoved it right into the mink's mouth. The mink had been messing with his melons nonstop, so he just let it have as much as it wanted, almost daring it to keep going. The mink couldn't stop burping and honestly looked super happy about it. Right then Yi came running over, all worked up about his mink. He couldn't believe someone would feed watermelon to his so-called special pet. Just looked at him thinking he had no clue, because honestly the little mink was vibing with the snack. To get back home fast, he knew he had to stick to the storyline. So he stepped up and let everyone know he was the top disciple from the Qinglan Immortal sect. He had no choice but to say sorry and hand over some cash to make up for what happened. Knowing he was meant for something big, couldn't just stand there and take the disrespect. Without even thinking twice, he was already swinging his sword. Nobody saw it coming but was so weak that as soon as he got hit, he just bailayed. Just stood there totally stunned. He couldn't believe he was already this strong. Elder, the old master who lived there, just floated out real calm. He could tell the guy was acting way too fast for his own good. Yi, even after dropping from the top as crown prince, wasn't about to let just anyone come at him. No way was he letting people look down on him, no matter where he ended up. He slammed his palm into the owner of the watermelon field, launching the guy straight back like he just got blasted. The other farmers totally freaked out and dropped to their knees, begging him not to hurt them. You got hooked on that rush, having everyone look up to him like he was some kind of legend. Even though he kept acting like he was the good guy, he was out here convincing everyone he was some hero who never hurt innocent people. He really wanted people to think he was all about doing the right thing. Watched from her hiding spot, barely holding back her disgust. He was acting way too fake, and she couldn't believe she ever liked a guy like him before. Honestly, even that one senior who never did anything right was still better than this guy. Was about to go help the farmer who got knocked over, but as she rounded the corner she spotted he'd just dipped earlier, now trying to sneak his way back. He passed the farmer a healing pill, just trying to make things right. He felt bad about what happened and wanted to help out however he could. When saw what was happening, she just stopped in her tracks. All she could remember about her senior brother was that he was always kind of a creep. Now she finally got it, she'd totally misjudged him. Spinning around, she took off back to the sect, set on doing whatever it took to keep you from joining as a disciple. Second senior sister was in charge of picking new people, and she'd already noticed Yi. She was ready to invite him up the mountain herself. The first challenge waiting up on the mountain was known as the Heaven Ascending Stairway. The guys who showed up hoping to become disciples stared up at the massive staircase. They just froze, not expecting something that intense right at the start. Everyone in the crowd just stood there, acting all confident. Honestly, if someone's already freaking out over something this small, they probably shouldn't have shown up in the first place. Everyone in the background froze for a second. It was Yi. Word always gets around that he's insanely talented and nobody wants to mess with him. If you cross him, you're pretty much done for. When he heard the compliments, he couldn't help but feel proud. He walked over to senior sister, showing respect like he should. He gave a respectful nod to. Just nodded, totally chill. Couldn't help it, her looks had him turning red right away. He jumped right in and wanted her to teach him how to use a sword. He looked up and saw right there, arms crossed and smirking like he already knew something. The test hadn't even kicked off yet, but was acting like he just caught him trying to get on the examiner's good side. The two kept throwing shade at each other. Spuddy suddenly stepped up. He wanted everyone to know that was just holding back and could have taken them out already if he wanted. He got everyone's attention and had them look up the stairs, showing off his name carved at the top. Honestly, had no clue how his name even got up there, but having someone hype him up like that made him feel legit. He was locked in, ready to give it everything. He wanted to crush the record, show up, and catch attention for real. As soon as the trial kicked off, everyone just bolted for the stairs. Contestants were racing each other, all trying to get ahead. He really stood out from everyone else. His athletic skills were on a whole other level compared to the rest of the guys in the background. He glanced at it with this cocky stare, kind of like he'd already won and was just background. Didn't get mad, he just started running through the story from the original novel in his head. Not long after, he picked up a pebble to use. He tried to trip Ichun without anyone noticing. He tried to play it cool after you slipped past him, acting like nothing even happened. After that, the overseer stepped in and gave him a heads up. He decides to just go for it, not caring about what she said, and launches another attack. He snatched the pebble out of the air and slapped him right back. Watched it all play out just like he expected. His eyes lit up. Finally, the story was actually going the way it was supposed to. He was ready, just waiting to get hit. Out of nowhere, Yi's whole body started drifting to the side. He slipped right off the stairs, froze, completely thrown off. Seriously, this kid's supposed to be the chosen one. No way he's about to get taken out just from falling down some stairs. Everyone down below just froze, totally caught off guard. Everyone seemed unsure except her eyes showed she was totally locked in and ready to go. Senior brother couldn't hold him back, so now it was up to him to step in. She didn't want you joining the sect, so the day before she got her pet chameleon to camp out at the top of the stairs, just waiting for the right moment. Ichun started flexing, but then things flipped and he ended up getting dropped. His heart started racing as he watched. All he could think was hoping the main guy wouldn't go out like that. He really didn't hold back. He was straight up cold and didn't care who he hurt. He pulled himself up by grabbing onto the other contestants, trying to get ahead however he could. He kept saying he played by the rules the whole time. It also set off the contestants, and suddenly everyone's throwing hands and chaos breaks out. Saw everyone losing their heads and used the mess to make his move, sprinting straight for the top. He watched as he walked up and stood right on the step with his own name carved into it. Let out a quiet breath, glad things were finally going how he expected. For once, the story seemed to be heading the right way. Right then, a rock came out of nowhere and smacked Yi in the chest, sending him flying back. And just froze. Neither of them made a move, so they couldn't figure out who actually did it. The group looked over. It was the second senior sister, the one who always backed Yi before. Now she looked totally over it, staring at Yi with this cold, annoyed face. Anyone could tell she wasn't having it, and she made it clear Yi had no shot at joining their group. Turns out Junior's sister had unlocked her own heavenly fate memories too. She watched everything go down and decided Yi was straight up trash. She looked over at, thinking there's no way a dude like Yi should ever be allowed to call himself a disciple. She figured probably felt the same way. Was all in, nodding like crazy. He totally agreed with her. But deep deep down he couldn't help but remember that she was the one who caught feelings for the guy first. Yi was sprawled out on the stairs, his cheeks totally red. He went for his usual move, trying to step on the other contestants to get ahead, but this time everyone caught on and pushed him out of the way. After messing up a bunch of times, Yi finally decided to tap into the old guy's power hidden inside his ring. He pushed through everyone and made sure he got to the top. Gui didn't hold back, she pushed out all her power, ready to do whatever it took to block. Just froze for a second, he couldn't figure out what Junior's sister was up to at all. If the main guy doesn't pass the apprenticeship test, it's hard to see where the story even goes from there. Totally out of options, just went for it, and hugged his second senior sister right there in front of everyone. She looked at him totally lost. She couldn't figure out what her senior brother was up to. Was sweating bullets, he'd moved too fast without thinking things through, and now he had no idea what to do next. He leans in close, keeping his voice down so only she can hear. He wants her to know she's got it twisted, but everyone's eyes are on them, so he barely lets the words slip. People in the crowd started whispering to each other, and the second senior sister's face went red right away. She snatched by the collar, flipped him over her shoulder, and dropped him hard onto the ground. At first, she just wanted to call him out for messing everything up. She noticed Shooter a calm, easy smile. He was basically telling her not to stress and he'd take care of it. She just stopped moving, completely locked in place. Something warm started building up in her chest. Was her senior brother actually watching out for her? He wasn't usually like this, but right now, he seemed way more chill than she expected. Right then, the whole crowd started yelling and pointing at Yi. With the old master in the ring backing him up, Yi-chun smashed through the record in a single go and even slammed right into the massive finish stone. Blood dripping down his clothes, he pushed himself up and locked eyes on. The anger was real. He wasn't about to let this go and made it clear he'd get back at way harder down the line. When the second senior sister saw what was happening, she figured out that the child of destiny wasn't going down that easy. Had basically taken the heat just to keep her safe. After seeing him do all that, she started catching real feelings for him. When she got back, she tried to call out Yi for what he did, saying straight up that he had a bad vibe and shouldn't be allowed in the Qinglan Immortal sect. The elders in the sect ended up backing Yi-chun instead. That just made the second senior sister even more sure that Yi was straight up trouble. At the same time, headed over to the sect's alchemy room. He strutted around, full of himself, dropping advice on the younger guys like he owned the place. Out of nowhere, the system popped up and said civilian mode was back. As a bonus, he scored a grade 5 alchemy reward, just stood there caught off guard. He really just wanted to keep things chill and stay under the radar as a minor villain, nothing wild. But for some reason, the system kept dropping overpowered skills on him, even though he was just trying to lay low. Honestly, taking the main dude's spot and running the show himself didn't seem out of reach. Shut down that thought right away. All he wanted was to head back to Earth and see his family again. Being the main character or hero just wasn't on his mind. Right now, he just needed to swipe some pills and mess with Junior's sister, since she'd already caught on to him. His face changed the second he saw her. He couldn't help it. Every time she showed up, he remembered those old sayings about the sea never ending. Real greatness shows up when someone can handle stuff they don't like. He expected Junior's sister to call him out, just like what happened before in the story. Instead, she got all shy and pushed her hair behind her ear. She wanted to know if he was serious about what he said and was curious about how stacked up next to the other girls. Lynch and her brother were both watching, waiting to see what he'd say next. He dropped to the ground, totally out of it. It was like his response didn't even make sense. He really just wanted to get back home, so he snapped himself back into the story. He straight up admitted he was planning something shady, looking for pills to mess with someone. Gui completely ignored what was supposed to happen. She just straight up handed him a pill, like she knew exactly what he was after. Was senior brother on the hunt for the 7-Ju pill or what? Wondered what was going on. He didn't really get why this ended up with the other person, but he didn't waste any time and just grabbed it right away. He talked about poisoning the person he couldn't stand, all while keeping an eye on her to see how she'd react. He realized he was acting way different than usual. By now, she probably noticed something was up with him. He had no idea, but his second senior sister, who already knew what was going on, thought was straight up clueless in a funny way. To her, he was just this goofy, likable guy she wanted to look out for. She wondered how she hadn't picked up on it before. Right after, dipped out with the pill. Everyone in the cultivation world knew her as the top beauty, and that day, she finally opened her eyes in her cave hideout. Waited until she was in the shower, then slipped quietly into her room. He was on a mission, moving quick and careful, grabbing her stockings before anyone could catch him. Earlier that day, got a mission that sounded kind of wild. He had to steal some stockings. He quietly made his way over to his master's room, trying not to get caught. He shoved the door open and barely looked inside before his face lit up bright red. All over the floor, there were wine jars tipped over and clothes just tossed everywhere. Slipped inside, curious about what was going on. He spotted the outer skirt and yeah, even the doo-doo left on the floor, but the stockings were nowhere to be found. Noticed the clothes scattered everywhere and instantly started piecing things together. Looked like the master got wasted, started feeling the heat, and just stripped down on the way to take a bath. That meant the stockings were most likely left in the bathroom. Slipped something into his pocket real fast, trying to keep it out of sight. You could see the excitement all over his face. It wasn't for any weird reason. He just knew if he finished this mission, his master would think he was some kind of creep, kick him out, and he'd finally get written out of the story. Honestly, that was his shot to get back home. Had no clue his master was watching the whole thing. She didn't look bothered at all, just stayed chill like nothing was out of the ordinary. Turns out her quiet student really did sneak in to grab her stockings. Now she started to wonder if all those memories and weird moments actually happened. Turns out Ling got the heavenly memories too. In the original story, she messed up Spirit Root and handed over her formless sword body to Yi. That move pretty much set off the chain of events that tanked her reputation and future. All these thoughts running through her head had fired up. She couldn't believe she actually bowed down to some guy and even handed over her sword body. Yi and always managed to turn things into something interesting, like they just knew how to keep everyone watching. She couldn't help but crack a small smile. Knowing what comes next, she was set on making sure none of that stuff went down again. After pulling off the whole stocking heist, didn't waste any time. He was locked in, heading straight for Ichun. Even though he just pulled off the move, he knew he still had to mess with Ichun and push him until he finally admitted what he did. Pulled up that old video of Yi wiping out on the heavenly ladder. Watching him roll and scramble just to beat the record was wild. He joked that if he ever had a kid, he had to show him this clip. He clenched his jaw, ready to charge at and throw hands, not caring how wild things got. Neither of them realized the second senior sister was watching them from the shadows. Right then, a pale hand landed on her shoulder. Turns out, the beautiful master had been secretly tailing the whole time. Pressed her finger to her lips, telling everyone to keep quiet while she and the other person stayed focused on the show. Both women looked on, staying alert and ready to step in if things started going sideways. He was totally caught up, acting like he was in a brain battle with himself. Figured was probably holding back something big and messing with him on purpose. At the end, he just pulled out his sword and stared down, not saying a word. He just spun around and dipped. Both women who'd been hiding finally relaxed when they realized it was safe. Actually looked interested. She didn't think had it in him to step up like that. His skills weren't the best, but if they were, he'd easily stand out from the rest. Right then, she made up her mind to put through some extra training that night. Had no clue what was going on. He wrapped up his performance, totally locked in on messing with the main guy like he was born for it. He moved straight to the next scene, starting drama right in front of the third junior sister, Wei, just to mess with Yi. Always had Yi's back no matter what went down. People always said their zither and sword combo just worked. It wasn't flashy, but together it looked clean, like they were made to back each other up. Saw everyone getting along and just laughed to himself. This part looked like it was going to be a breeze. Out of nowhere, Yi started coughing hard and spat out blood 3 times, catching everyone off guard. The old grandpa in his ring gave Yi a heads up that this girl was hiding something dangerous in her music. If you listened for too long, it could actually mess with your body. You didn't expect that at all. There was real danger in the song. He glanced up and caught Yue staring him down, eyes cold as ever. Nobody messed with her training. He just wanted to see what she could really do, but honestly, he was kind of letting everyone down right now. Things were getting awkward between them, and couldn't even process what just happened. Both of them just froze. Out of nowhere, they start going at each other, which made no sense since the real target was supposed to be him, the main villain. He jumped in fast and started throwing out lines, messing with Ichun. He spotted and instantly shot him a nasty glare. In his head, he was convinced was behind the whole mess, thinking somehow got the pretty girl to come after him. He spotted the guy who always tricks girls, thinking he can get away with it. Today, he was ready to call him out and set things straight. Right when pulled out his weapon, jumped in and wasn't having any of it. Suddenly, music crashed over both of them, knocking them back hard. Was just sprawled out on the ground, totally spaced out. The story had gone off the rails again, just his luck. Still, he figured getting hurt had to count for something right. Stood up, said some bold stuff and dipped out. Just stood there kind of down, watching everything go on without him. He didn't mean for things to go down like that. He just wanted to back up his senior brother and get some stuff off his chest, but somehow he ended up making things worse and hurting him too. Couldn't shake the guilt. She grabbed her zither, hugged it tight, and headed over to his place late at night. It was already midnight, but she still knocked on his door, hoping he hadn't crashed yet. Spotted his junior sister showing up super late at night. He shut his eyes for a second and let out a long breath, trying to chill out. Being the villain, running into his junior sister at night basically meant he had to mess with her a bit. Yue shot up in height lately. His senior, acting all weird, reached out like he was about to check him out, hands moving in a way that definitely wasn't normal. He couldn't believe it. Wei, who was way stronger than him, didn't even try to dodge or back off. Instead, she just moved in a little closer, looking kind of shy. Instantly took a step back. He knew if things kept going like this, the whole story was gonna fall apart. He remembered that if he was going to be the bad guy, he had to play the part. His junior sister pretty much showed up on her own right at his place. No way was he just going to send her off, so he went for it again. Zither swung up fast and cracked him right on the head. Held his nose, blood running down his face. He knew messing with the main guy's girl was asking for trouble. Karma really doesn't wait around for people like him. While he was busy ranting about how unlucky he was, just dropped to her knees and hugged him tight. He realized that nobody seemed to care when the heroine got close to him. Snapped out of it after zoning out for a second, he wanted to know what brought her here. She looked like something was weighing on her mind. She wanted him to go with her down the mountain to help out with some fixing up and painting. This whole thing wasn't even part of how the story was supposed to go. Tomorrow was supposed to be huge, he had to climb the mountain. Wasn't having it at all and shut it down right away. When Yue heard what was said, she gently pulled on his sleeve. Thought about saying no, but he just couldn't turn her down. He ducked into his room and pressed his back against the door, breathing hard. Right then, his phone buzzed with a message from the master. He needed to head out to Cliff. Couldn't figure out what was happening. Tonight was just straight up weird and none of this was supposed to go down. He still showed up right outside his room, doing what he was told without making a scene. His chest was thumping hard. He couldn't tell if it was because of that awkward bathroom moment earlier or getting caught with her stockings. Either way, it felt like everything was about to go off. Even though he was hesitating at the door, he suddenly heard this soft, kind of flirty voice from inside. She sounded a little buzzed, calling him in and warning that if he didn't show up fast, she'd get mad. His whole vibe switched up fast, his face just dropped. He couldn't figure out what was up with his master. She was suddenly acting all cute toward him and it just threw him off. Eased the door open and spotted inside, totally lost in her buzz and looking way too smooth for her own good. She motioned him over, clearly wanting to size him up since it had been a while. Before he even knew what was happening, this pink energy just locked him up tight. Got pulled right into his arms. She flashed a sly grin and slowly ran her finger down his chest. Could barely handle it, his mind was racing, hoping she wouldn't take things any further. She didn't slow down at all. Instead, she leaned in and quietly let him know she was down to try something fun together. Expected her to just shove him onto the bed. Out of nowhere, the area right behind him started to warp. Suddenly, he just showed up on top of a cliff. Up in the sky, his voice dropped in, all confident and kind of teasing, calling her student out and basically telling him it was time to face off with her. Had no idea what was going on. He couldn't wrap his head around why someone who looked straight out of a fantasy game was talking about dueling like it was no big deal. Before he could even say no, a purple sword straight up glowing with insane power showed up in the sky. That's when he finally got it. The master wasn't messing around at all. He called out for his sword Yin and got ready to throw down. Her power was just way too much. Tried to keep up, but he couldn't handle everything coming at him. He got knocked off the cliff by a wave of sword aura and honestly thought that was it for him. Out of nowhere, that same wild sword energy hit him from behind. Hovered up in the air, looking super confident. She wanted her student to pay close attention because she was about to show off a move called Sword Intent Baptism, taking her skills to a whole new level. Suddenly, her fast and sharp sword energy switched up and turned into glowing golden lotus petals floating around her. Was still trying to figure out what was going on when his master suddenly got closer. He just had to deal with it and hit the shower. Heard someone say his master was coming in. He almost laughed at how weird that sounded, coming in where exactly. It honestly threw him off for a second. Suddenly pain shot up from below. His master had stabbed him straight through with her sword. Right before everything went dark for him, he caught her eyes. She looked locked in like she'd just made up her mind. His disciples were set to run the world, travel across galaxies, and never answer to anyone. When passed out, you snapped awake at the bottom of the mountain. He just knew deep down that something huge meant for him had been taken away. The old guy in his ring didn't waste any time. He gave you a heads up that this place was bad news and they needed to bounce. Wasn't about to give up. He kept telling himself he was meant for something big, so why would he ever be scared? If anyone tried to take what was his, he was ready to handle it himself. No hesitation, just all in. He had no idea, but before he even got the chance to do anything, his 3 junior sisters, who'd already unlocked some next-level heavenly memories, were already waiting outside his door. His fate was sealed in everyone's mind. There was only one thing left, he had to go. Back in the main story, the demon gate rolled up on the Azure Wind Immortal sect, and it was all because of you. The elders and disciples didn't back down at all. They jumped right into the fight, giving it everything they had. Nobody made it out alive. At the end of it all, was left standing with just her 3 disciples. They really wanted you to show up and help them out. Just shut it down, saying he was already out of there. Dude had moved up to some higher world, probably hanging out with some holy maiden by now. She told them to stay on their feet, reminding everyone that true disciples of Azure Wind never back down or drop to their knees, no matter what. The demon, looking like a straight-up minotaur, had this evil grin on his face. He was already locked in, probably picturing exactly what he was about to do to them. Just then, Yi showed up with another girl and totally turned things around. He took out every demon around him like it was nothing. He headed over to and held out his hand, realizing he showed up late. Still, he was relieved to see was all right. Stared at the bodies of people she trained with every day. Her expression changed, she looked ready to snap. In a moment like this, she couldn't believe that was all anyone had to say. Had no idea what was going on. He glanced over at the other two girls, and both of them were staring him down like he'd just ruined their whole day. Popped up behind him right then. You couldn't help but think her timing was always just too perfect. Nobody really knows who he is. Every time someone gets close to him, things just go sideways for them. But somehow he's always the one who ends up on top, like he's got the game rigged in his favor. Finally realized what was really going on. He was actually the one going against the Qinglan immortal sect. Without hesitating, she grabbed her sword and moved in to take him down. Out of nowhere, lightning shot down from the sky, and Wei Wei rushed over to help her out. Everyone just looked annoyed. He stood there thinking he was unstoppable, like seriously, did they really think they could go up against him? He reached out his hand to the four women again. Out of nowhere, this strange voice popped into their heads, asking if they wanted another shot. So many memories started running through their heads. Suddenly, they remembered all the times stood up to Yi, and it finally all made sense. The pieces left behind, golden light showed up and just slipped straight into their heads, like it was syncing up with their minds right there and then. The three sisters didn't want the same disaster to repeat, so they planned to take out Yi tonight. They were set on making sure he never got anywhere near the Qinglan immortal sect. While Yi was crashed out in his room, totally out cold, everything else kept moving around him. Noticed the timing was just right. She glanced at her spirit beast, Little Meow, giving it the signal to get ready. He dug his claws in, ready to shred that loser until he was nothing but trash. Right when Little Meow was ready to sprint into his room and end things, something off nearby caught its attention. Two streaks of energy, one red and one blue, shot across the sky right behind it. Noticed right away and signaled Little Meow to be careful. Little Meow moved fast, dodging just in time as the two energy blasts disappeared with a huge thunder sound rolling through the sky. While was knocked out, he started to frown because the thunder outside was getting wild. Right then, Elder, who lived in his ring, tried to wake him up with a heads up about something dangerous coming his way. Snapped awake right away. He picked up his sword and stepped outside. When he got up to the rooftop, it was just dead quiet. He didn't get it, there was absolutely nothing up there. He glanced at his ring, thinking maybe Elder was losing it or something and just heard things. But Elder wasn't having any of that and insisted he was sure. He definitely picked up on three serious, dangerous vibes locked right onto his room. Mountain clearly wasn't your average spot. Started second-guessing the whole thing. He wondered if Elder was just trying to freak him out, maybe hoping he'd back off from climbing Qinglan Mountain. But Elder quickly tried to clear things up, basically telling he'd never mess with him like that or make anything up. Didn't buy any of it, he just headed back to his room, done with the whole thing. The immortal recruitment thing was happening tomorrow, and honestly he needed to crash. He hoped the Elder would finally chill out and let him get some rest. Over in the bushes was Rattled. He just watched his strongest sword move vanish like it never even happened. Across from him was just as lost. His zither attack somehow landed, even though he was sure he aimed right at. Neither of them could figure out what was going on. They figured they'd give it another shot. At the inn, Yi grabbed his lower back, annoyed by how stiff the bed was. His back was really hurting. Right then, Elder picked up on something off, like trouble was about to go down again. Yi got a heads up to watch his back, but when he spun around, there was nothing there. He watched the lightning light up the sky, just sitting there and taking it all in. Yi just stopped in his tracks for a second. He just stared at Elder, not saying a word. Elder started to freak out and pointed outside, trying to prove his point. There actually was some real danger out there a second ago. He was so serious, it was like he'd swear on his life he wasn't making anything up. Just brushed it off, not really bothered. The old man could eat whatever he wanted, but talking wild like that was a different story. He was already just a lost spirit, and if lightning struck him again, knew there was nothing he could do about it. Was crouched in the bushes, fists clenched tight. He slammed his fist into the tree, frustration all over his face. Things had flopped again, and he was seriously annoyed. And were both pissed off. Just like they remembered, luck always seemed to be on his side. They knew they'd have to find another shot to take him out. While was about to doze off, something weird happened. He started seeing flashes of a memory that wasn't his. In his mind, he watched himself snatching his master's stockings, only to get totally caught by Yi right in the middle of the disciples' ceremony. People started calling him out, saying he was some kind of creep. He stayed up, fired up, just watching and waiting for his master to finally crash. She quietly grabbed the absolute black lotus from next to her bed, making sure nobody saw her take the forbidden artifact. He planned to take Yi out with it. Nothing worked out for him, and he just ended up at the sex reflection cliff, feeling completely defeated. His two younger sisters just stared at him, totally let down. They couldn't believe their big brother would actually pull something like this. Just froze, not sure what to say. He really wanted to clear things up with his master. He found out pretty quick that master was totally let down by him. She was even thinking about handing over the sword intent to make up for it. He couldn't stop thinking about it, and it was really getting to him. Even just shoved him out of the way. Shot him a dirty look, totally grossed out. As the chief disciple, he crossed the line messing with a junior sister like that. He just trashed Divine Peak's reputation. She just handed him a dagger, kind of like saying, if you've still got any pride left, prove it. Just laughed to himself like he had nothing left to give. He He was totally drained and honestly just wanted it all to be over. He drove the blade straight into his chest, not even hesitating. He snapped awake when a sudden jab of pain hit him. He suddenly figured out that the memory he just watched wasn't his at all. Right now he was just looking into his master's eyes, and honestly they looked so calm it kinda threw him off. His master seemed pretty chill, almost like he'd been waiting for this moment. That's when finally realized he was chilling with his head on his master's lap. Earlier, the sword that went through him wasn't even meant to hurt him. It was just there to transfer that invisible sword energy right into his body. When heard his master talk about how strong he'd get in the future, he just froze. All the inner disciples had the chance to make their own life-bound swords. The sword grew up with him and could even unlock a sword spirit. But since he didn't have a sword spirit, everyone used to think he was just the useless older brother. Now he finally had the immaterial sword, the best cheat out there, right in his grip. Started getting super anxious. He couldn't stop thinking about the duel tomorrow, kind of worried he might actually mess up and end up hurting you way worse than planned. Like, what if he accidentally took him out for real? She noticed her disciple looking totally defeated, like he'd just lost big time. Master passed him the cup she'd just been drinking from. He could tell she wanted him to loosen up and just go with it, handing it over like it was no big deal. Stared at the wine jar, noticing his master had just taken a sip. He wondered if drinking straight from it too would be weird or out of line. She just grinned even wider, like she was daring him to go for it. He started thinking about whether having it just sitting on his lap was the right move. Shot up fast, scrambling to say sorry, and his face was so red and awkward that couldn't help but crack up. She pushed her hair out of her face. She leans right into his arms and gets close, quietly asking if he thinks his master looks good. Had to blink for a second, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. His master, who was always calm and kind of distant, actually looked nervous, almost like she was hoping he'd say something good. He didn't waste any time hyping her up. To him, she was just on another level, like the moon everyone can't stop looking at. Master looked annoyed, kind of sulking, and leaned in close so no one else could catch what he said. He wanted to know if his student really saw him like the moon, then why was he sneaking around stealing his stockings? Just stopped dead in his tracks. Turns out Master had been onto him the whole time. He tried to come up with some excuse, but his master just brushed it off with a wave, clearly messing with him. Her face shifted, getting all serious. She basically let him know if someone comes at him or messes with divine law and peak, he shouldn't hold back. She promised she'd handle whatever went down after that. His chest tightened. Out of nowhere, he got the sinking feeling like something was seriously off. Was Master onto him? The next day rolled around, and it was finally time for the disciple recruitment ceremony. Yi stepped out from the crowd, taking his time. He was daydreaming with Elder about getting accepted into Immortal Sect, picturing himself surrounded by a ton of girls and snagging every cool chance that came his way. Showed up, riding his flying sword like it was no big deal. Everyone around him just stopped and stared, totally caught off guard by how unreal he looked. Everyone else seemed chill, but you just stared at him, totally unimpressed. In his eyes, this guy was all looks, no substance. He dropped down and ended up standing right in front of him. Watching you show up, he instantly wanted to know what would happen next. The urge to keep following the story just got way stronger. He didn't even hesitate, just started roasting the kid right away. Last night's warning clearly meant nothing, and now the kid had the guts to show up again, wild. He was honestly just asking for trouble at this point. Cursing him was honestly the best part, even if the lines were kinda embarrassing. His face switched up real quick when he heard that, looking like he was ready to take me out right then and there. When he caught a glimpse of his cold, messed up expression, he couldn't help but feel a little proud. The first round of trash talk nailed it. No way his tough guy act was slipping now. Things got heated between them in no time. He honestly couldn't care less. He just had to chill and let the classic hero get saved by the pretty girl moment play out. Came down standing on her flying sword like it was nothing. Watched her, thinking this was the girl everyone said would have his back. Things went totally sideways. Watched as he bowed to her, all respectful. Out of nowhere, she just walked up and smacked him so hard, the dude basically got sent flying like he was gone 800 meters out. Ichun got launched across the room, totally out of control. Nobody moved. Turns out, who always seemed super chill and nice, was actually kind of a beast when things went down. The next moment, she popped up in front of looking a little awkward. She wondered if she'd startled him, but honestly thought the guy who disrespected had it coming. Meanwhile, just stood there lost. This story was all over the place, and the characters made zero sense to him. At the same time, you couldn't shake off how many times he'd been embarrassed. He started side-eyeing Elder, suspecting the old guy was just messing with him, and that the whole Lan Immortal Sect was actually a dead end. Elder was freaking out, trying hard to get Yi to bounce from there ASAP. Yi really looked like he might leave Qing Lan Immortal Sect and started to freak out. He didn't want you listening to that old guy. After all, was just the dude set up to make things easier for you. He tried to get himself together, not wanting to make his own villain look bad. You must picked up on what was thinking, because he tightened his grip on his sword and dropped a super intense line about standing up to fate, like he was ready to go all in no matter what. He had this look in his eyes, sharp green and straight up intense. You could tell he was ready to throw down, not messing around at all. For the first time he actually felt happy. It really hit him that his guy was the main character, no doubt about it. The way he carried himself was just next level, like he was born for this. If anything, he was ready for whatever came next. Senior sister didn't wait around, she ran in ahead of everyone. She was trying to warn her senior brother, letting him know that this guy was out to get him. He stepped in fast and stopped her, making it clear he wanted to settle things one-on-one with Yi. His cheeks turned red and she gave a small nod, showing she actually trusted him. Still, he knew from the heavenly memories that Yi's beast could drop the truth about him swiping those stockings whenever it wanted. The risk was always there, sitting in the back of his mind. She thought about it for a while, but in the end, she still stepped in to stop him. Yi got left out and his anger spiked. Watching them flirt right in front of him was just too much. Right when he was ready to throw hands, this massive fire phoenix came flying in out of nowhere. He couldn't help but smile, knowing Yi's top-tier girl from the OG story just showed up. Runs things at Ming Peak for the immortal sect. Sume touched down, her long white legs barely making a sound as she dropped from above, that gold-red feather rope trailing behind her. As soon as she opened her eyes, every disciple around pretty much lost it. Noses started bleeding everywhere. She looked unreal. Everyone knew Peak Master Su was on a whole different level. He crossed his arms, thinking about how Sume used to act, and honestly his nose just wouldn't stop bleeding. Noticed that the Heavenly Tao memories were changing up, but Ichun was still off in his own world, just vibing with Elder about how awesome his future could be. He had to pause and steady himself. All the junior sisters were acting wild lately, like they totally lost it. Sume was the only one he could still count on. As walked by, he stuck to the script and threw on that classic annoying grin guys always use when they're trying to act all pervy. He took out a bunch of white roses, thinking they were just right for Elder Su, big, clean, and honestly kind of classy. Looked at the roses, then shot a quick look at my annoying grin. She didn't get mad at all, she just got closer. Hearing talk like that, she couldn't help but smile. She liked what he said and decided right then she'd take them. He legit felt like he was about to snap. Elder Su's reaction just made zero sense to him. Things got even weirder when her voice showed she was kinda jealous. She clearly wished she had a student like him, just like Sister Ling does. She glanced over at Yi while I watched, hoping for something to happen. Her sword lit up with crazy energy, shooting out 9 massive fire phoenixes that dropped down on him, hitting hard like something out of a legend. The guy couldn't believe someone just disrespected a member of Immortal Sect. Yi, who'd just been putting on a tough front, suddenly lost all his confidence. He was so stressed out it felt like his hair was about to bail on him. If he stepped in to save, everyone would see through his villain act, but if he just stood by, the whole story would stall out. Elder Yuan Yu pulled up on his wild boar right on time and put a stop to whatever was about to do. Inside, he was hyped. This dude just saved him, no cap. Even though Elder Yuan always acted cool and distant, he was secretly working undercover for the demonic sect the whole time. He really kept every single one safe, so he figured he owed the guy at least a thank you. The two experts kept it chill and said a few respectful things to each other. Out of nowhere, Sume spun around, checking up on how he was doing, looking pretty worried. He just told her he was all right. He spotted Sume heading right at him, and instantly started panicking inside, really hoping she wouldn't walk over. Stayed close, leaning in so her breath warmed his ear. She straight up told him he had serious talent and suggested he should ditch Divine Wand Peak to stick with her. She made it clear Elder Su would show him the ropes. She finished her speech, totally throwing him off, then just turned and walked off like nothing happened. He just stood there trying to figure out if any of that was supposed to happen, or if maybe he'd read some bootleg version of the story. What he didn't realize was that his big sister had also gotten those heavenly memories. Lately, she started thinking he was actually pretty cool, and she even started plotting to take him away from. While Elder Yuan, Yi, and Yu were all chilling and having a good time, he just sat there stressed out and holding his head. The story had gotten completely out of hand, and he had no clue how to fix this mess. The disciple recruitment ceremony kicked off, and just like the story planned, he handed Yi a poisoned pill. He even showed a mistake on purpose, hoping the guy would catch on that the pill seemed off. He was ready to put my business out there for everyone to see. Nobody saw it coming when you paused, looked at the pill for a sec, then just popped it in like it was nothing. Watching that, my eyes went wide. Seriously, is this guy for real? You wasn't clueless, he had some tricks up his sleeve. As soon as he spotted the pill, he could tell something was off. Elders standing in the ring told him to hang onto the pill for proof, and go let the Qinglan Immortal Sect elders know what happened. but wasn't having it. His head was spinning, but he figured he'd just go with it for now. He trusted his purple mist pill training, which let him tank poisons that weren't super strong. He was ready to use this to mess himself up just to drag down with him. He popped the pill and gave a sly grin, already thinking had no idea what was coming. His confidence faded almost instantly. He suddenly noticed the pill was way more toxic than he thought, like, way past what he was ready for. As soon as it landed, started bleeding from his nose, mouth, and everywhere else. He pretty much blew up right there in front of everyone. The elders totally lost it. That pill was messed up and one of them was about to give a heads up. But someone jumped the gun. Ichun was fuming, hands shaking. He couldn't believe the old guy kept quiet until now. He tossed the ring with Elder's soul in it, not even looking back. He was so done with that thing, didn't want it around anymore. Sister spotted what was going on and couldn't help but give a proud little smirk. That pill was hers and she knew it. Suddenly got hit with the fact that he was actually about to die. He got down and moved over to where the ring had been tossed. He slid it back where it belonged and made sure to say sorry, keeping it real and respectful. The old man didn't get mad at him at all. Instead, he just handed over a fresh cultivation method like it was no big deal. Started tearing up, totally thankful. The old dude really came through for him. He figured it was probably smart to start listening to the guy from now on. But then, when Elder Shur brought up the idea of leaving the Qinglan Immortal sect, it kind of threw everyone off. You shut it down instantly, not even giving it a second thought. He just knew was probably cracking up somewhere right now. He needed to get even and show he wasn't messing around. When he spun around, was just staring at him, clearly worried. As soon as he realized you was okay, you could see the relief on his face. You froze for a second. Just a minute ago, this dude was out to get him, and now he was staring at him all weird. You couldn't help but wonder if this guy was just some creep. He had no idea but was actually pretty relieved. If he hadn't made it, would been out of moves as the villain, no story left to keep things interesting. Since the poison thing flopped, figured he'd just go all in and show his true villain side with his master's white silk stockings. That plan had to pay off. You bounced back fast, getting back to 100%. Just like everyone expected, he was back in the arena, ready to go, sticking to the script. He straight up said he wanted to throw hands with. Couldn't stop running his mouth, talking smack the whole time. Deep down, he was hyped because things were finally going the way he expected. Sister suddenly stepped up, blocking his way with her bag. She didn't even let him make a move, making it clear that she was the one taking on the challenge, not him. As soon as she showed up, everyone around just froze for a second. Seriously had the craziest luck. First, he's got this beautiful older girl in his life, and now a super cute younger one shows up too. The whole crowd couldn't help but feel jealous, but was about to lose it. People kept making wild assumptions, but it wasn't at all how they thought. He quickly grabbed her hand to hold her back, but right away noticed her fingers weren't soft like before. They were all beat up and covered in cuts. Caught on right away, she knew she'd been grinding that wild, heart-devouring demon melody from the Heavenly Sound sword arts just for this fight. It's a risky move, the kind that messes up your enemy but drags you down with them. Back in the original story, even when he was getting swarmed by a massive army, she didn't pull out this move for him. Just had to ask what was going on. He looked at his junior sister, pretty confused. Wei Wei looked back at him, calm and serious. She really believed that getting stronger was the only way she could have his back. Felt something hit him deep down, but at the same time he was completely stressed out. Part of him just wanted to let her know he was the bad guy here and didn't deserve anyone looking out for him. His eyes stayed locked in, not even flinching. He was always the one stepping up to face Yi, never backing down even when it got tough. Before, she didn't really get it, but now she wanted to have his back. This time, she was ready to look out for him. Rubbed his forehead, just done with all of it. She was the one flipping the whole story upside down, but now he had to deal with the mess. He moved to stop her, but then a bright green sword light suddenly flashed. Showed up, and honestly, her vibe just owned the room. She told Wei Wei to chill and let handle this one. Jumped right in, not holding back at all. He basically threw down a challenge, saying he'd take you out in just 3 moves. Right then, the system just showed up out of nowhere. It basically told him he'd leveled up big time. His sword skills and energy both got a huge boost. Just stood there, confused. He always thought he was just supposed to be the chill villain, not the main guy getting upgrades. He couldn't figure out why the system was hooking him up now. Maybe it thought he couldn't handle it. At the same time, Master stared with a look that could freeze anyone. He wanted his disciple to remember what he said the night before, wait for the right moment and take the guy out. Right after she finished talking, she changed up her vibe and flashed a cute look, even sending a playful air kiss. She told him to give it his all, hinting that there was some kind of special reward waiting for him later if he managed to win. Just felt stuck. It was like everyone around him expected him to take out Ichun, and he had no clue why. When it came to playing the bad guy, he just never took the L with that in mind, went for it and pushed his sword straight ahead. Noticed the move had a ton of gaps, and that made him smirk a little on one side. Right after that, his weak sword swing suddenly lit up with a streak of lightning. He swung hard at Yi, putting everything into the attack. Suddenly there was a ding and the system congratulated him. His original stats were back and the divine move just activated. Just stopped in his tracks, thinking this system had the worst timing. Why throw out rewards right when it looks like he's about to get wrecked? Thunder just dropped out of nowhere, lighting up the sky above the immortal sect. Everyone there froze, staring, stood out. Dude was scary powerful. Guys couldn't help but respect him, and some of the crowd couldn't stop thinking about how good he looked. Was thinking harder than everyone else. She figured someone probably boosted his power, and right away, Ling popped into her mind. Caught looking shy but also kind of hyped, and right then, everything clicked for her. Turns out her senior sister had already peeped the future too. Had no clue about the mix-up going on, she just looked at, eyes lit up. In her mind this shower move had to be some wild sword skill he came up with. Honestly, she thought he carried himself like a straight-up emperor. He wasn't like who everybody called the village's next big thing. Getting smacked by sword in front of everyone had him seriously embarrassed, and he almost got knocked right out of the ring. The crowd went wild as the two kept landing hits on each other, neither one backing down. Everyone noticed holding his ground, blocking every attack. Dude was seriously strong. Held his sword tight, both hands steady. In his head, he couldn't help thinking that if he really went all out, his opponent would be done for already. His eyes had this stubborn spark that just wouldn't quit. The guy really looked like he was about to turn things around any second. Someone watching was basically just waiting for him to make a move so they could finally clock out. Out of nowhere, just dropped to his knees, fists tight, hitting the ground so hard everyone heard it. He looked totally crushed, basically admitting he lost and promising to keep his word about apologizing to their group. He even called out to the elders, desperate for them to help him out. Just froze when he saw you drop to his knees. Meanwhile, I barely even used a third of my power, so seeing him give up like that, seriously weak move. He had no idea that just using a third of his power would be enough to freak Yi out. Almost couldn't believe what was happening. If the immortal sect master hadn't shown up to cover Yi, he would thought he was just imagining things. Yi-chun was about ready to give up when his pet ferret popped out of nowhere. Back in the main story, the ferret totally messed things up for the guy who tried to steal Stocking's identity and got him caught. His eyes lit up red. He was really counting on the ferret to come through. When saw the ferret jump at him, he just closed his eyes and stood there with his arms wide open. He was basically getting ready to let everyone know he was the guy who took his master's silk stockings, not even trying to hide it. Right then, a sword aura came out of nowhere and dropped the ferret instantly. Started freaking out and glanced at the ferret while spun around, clearly pissed off. He looked up and realized it was Ling, the master everyone talked about for her looks and skills. She stood on higher ground, staring down at Yi and laying into him without holding back. The fight was already over, but Yi had still tried to pull a fast one, sending his beast to go after her student. Ling called him out right there, making it clear that what he did was dirty. The second the top beauty from the immortal sect started talking, everyone started whispering like crazy. Shot a playful wink, basically showing off like, see that, your master's got skills. Just lost it. The main girls weren't acting like themselves anymore, and even the main guy was basically scared of his own shadow. At this point there was no saving the story, it was totally off the rails. He was over the whole villain thing, he just wanted out. Right when he was about to quit, a system alert popped up in his face. It was basically calling him out, saying his attitude was slipping and the whole mission could fall apart any second. The system even asked if he really wanted to throw away the shot at becoming immortal in the mortal world. Up on the stage, zoned out, lost in his own head. Everyone watching looked confused. Didn't the older guy just win? But by the way he stood there, it almost seemed like he was the one who took the L. Suddenly realized something. Now that he'd leveled up, maybe sticking around in this world was actually the move. Right then, his mind jumped straight to his family. His chest started hurting bad. Even though he was stuck here, he knew Earth was where he really belonged. Thinking it through, picked up his weapon again. He figured he'd handle things one step at a time. First, he needed to figure out why his junior sisters were acting so weird. After that, he was set on dealing with Yi. That guy definitely needed to get put in his place. The moment stepped back into his villain role, the junior sisters instantly got hype. They came at him one by one, barely giving him a second to breathe. Ling couldn't hide how proud he was, his disciple just crushed it. Still, he noticed Wei Wei and acting kind of weird around shower, like something was definitely off. Was supposed to feel good seeing back since she was his master and all, but when she saw him hanging out with the two younger girls like they were all best friends, something just didn't sit right. She started to feel kind of let down, maybe even jealous. Not wanting to stick around, she slipped out quietly. She had no clue that it was totally focused on his stunning master. He kept thinking about the deal they made. If he managed to beat Yi-chun, he'd get a special reward. Was already planning for tonight, thinking he'd get a chance to really figure out what was going on with his master. Well, maybe not checking her out physically, but at least trying to understand what she was thinking and where things might have gone off. Once took down Yi, he noticed the guy just dipped into the woods, probably needing to blow off some steam. He started out trying to figure out what happened to Yi, wondering why the guy switched up so hard. But as soon as things got a little intense, the so-called main character just lost it. One freaky moment and he froze, looking like he was about to embarrass himself right there. If senior Uncle Yuan hadn't stepped in, was pretty sure Yi-chun would straight up lost control and peed himself. He stretched out, barely moving, just kind of stuck and not really sure what to do. Right when he was about to dip, showed up out of nowhere, out of breath and yelling that she was there to help him. Just stopped in his tracks, not sure what to do. He glanced down and noticed 3 big dark pearls around her neck. Those were the beast-taming demon orbs, a family treasure she got passed down. With these orbs, she could control any beast for miles around, like nothing even came close. Glanced over her shoulder, nerves kicking in. Just like he thought, a ton of wild, mean-looking beasts were rushing straight at them. What really threw him off was seeing's face. She looked dead serious, like she'd made up her mind to look out for her senior brother no matter what. She said straight up that she was going to take out you first, then snatch her senior brother so he'd only be with her. That classic move seriously made skin crawl. She even looked like she was ready to go after Wei Wei and reached out and gave her a quick head pat, trying to chill her out. As soon as his hand landed, his whole vibe changed, her eyes lit up and she instantly relaxed, settling right into his hand. Pulled her away from the group, planning to use his looks to figure out what was up with the junior sister and why she seemed so different lately. He wondered what singing was supposed to accomplish right now. Who a second ago was ready to take you out without even hesitating, suddenly switched up. Now she looked all shy, fidgeting as she explained she just wanted to protect her senior brother from getting messed with by the wrong people. She just wanted to dip with her senior brother and stick by his side for good. Almost blacked out when he heard the news. Hanging out forever with a 15-year-old girl like Ying honestly sounded pretty chill to him. He was down to give it a shot. Still, something was off. She wasn't acting like the Ying he remembered from the original story. He started to wonder if he'd messed up playing the bad guy. Froze for a second, not sure what to do, and some magic beads around her neck started to lose their glow. Out of nowhere, she jumped right into his arms, pressing up against him a few times. No matter what her senior brother did, was locked in, she wasn't going anywhere. His cheeks turned red, he couldn't really explain it, but things suddenly felt chill again, like whatever was stressing him out just faded away. He saw looking all cute, and honestly he just had to reach over and pinch her waist. It was way too tempting. Senior brother was definitely up to no good. When heard that, all those years of playing the bad guy kind of kicked in and he just blurted out his usual reaction. Kind of caught off guard, got shy real quick. It all happened way too fast for her. She leaned back into him, pressing her face into his chest and just kept snuggling up. Right after, a notification popped up, main storyline back on track, villain mode back online, and some kind of reward dropped. The immortal sword, which apparently had some wild abilities, just stood there totally thrown off. He never saw that part coming in the storyline. Now that's problem was handled, was ready to see his master and finally get his reward. Deep down, he couldn't shake the sense that his master was behind everything that just went down. When he walked into the room, he noticed chilling on the bed, legs crossed, giving off major confidence. She seemed impressed with how he handled things today, like he actually met her expectations. Now she was ready to give him a reward, basically letting him step up and show some respect. While she talked, she casually stretched out her smooth, pale foot. Froze up, he saw her foot and just stared, not saying anything. He wasn't sure if she was seriously telling him to do this or just trying to mess with him. Stood there awkward and a bit irritated. She wondered why he was taking forever to decide, starting to think maybe he just didn't want to do it. Honestly, she felt like she'd been way too easy on him, and in her mind she told herself there was no way she'd let him help out with this next time. She wanted to know why, if he wasn't into Master's jade feet, he still took hers before. Froze up the second he heard that. She really had no clue. Man, this was straight up embarrassing. He grabbed her foot right away, saying he'd take care of it. While washing her foot, he was already thinking about how he could use a massage to keep her mind off things. He noticed her tipsy look and without even thinking started putting in more effort. Honestly, he was getting a little too into playing. His foot, smooth and almost unreal, suddenly tensed up and slipped away from his grip. That snapped him out of whatever zone he was in. He realized getting too caught up wasn't good for him. After all, they were just characters in a story. He needed to chill and not let himself get lost in it. The next thing said completely caught him off guard. He wondered if the guy would really be down to serve him forever, just doing random stuff like washing his feet every day, no questions asked. Was busy doing what he always did, massaging his master's feet, just handling his usual chores. Out of nowhere, Junior sister Wei Wei showed up at the dorm looking for him. Wei Wei noticed he was gone, and out of nowhere, this wild idea popped into her head. She instantly turned red, shook it off, and told herself there's no way she could actually go through with it. She kept sneaking looks over her shoulder like she couldn't let it go. Wei Wei paused for a second, then jumped right onto his bed, totally hyped. The bed still had his senior brother's scent, and honestly, it smelled really good. She just wanted that scent to stick with her too. Heard a noise in his room and froze. He couldn't figure out why Wei Wei was just chilling on his bed. He couldn't stop thinking about how someone would use there like that. Was this just people being weird, or had everyone just lost it? He needed answers, and today he was determined to get to the bottom of it. Wei Wei kept poking around, and while she was checking the blanket, she spotted something tucked away inside. She unlocked it and found a video of someone bathing. Turns out had secretly filmed it using a memory stone. His face lost all its color. This was it, game over. There was no way he could hide his creepy side now. He paused for a second, thinking this might actually be an upgrade. He just swung the door open, acting like he owned the place, and called out too, asking who told her she could just walk in. Held onto the memory stone, her face still flushed while she looked straight at him. His hands tightened up, bracing himself to get called out as a creep by her. He figured that no matter how chill Wei Wei usually was, if she ever saw him act that bold, there's no way she'd just let it slide. Wei Wei didn't even hesitate. She snapped the memory stone in her hand with a sharp crack. Her eyes narrowed and she flashed this intense, kinda creepy smile. If her senior brother wanted to watch, then fine, she'd make sure he couldn't look away from her now. Felt a shiver run down his back, but he kept up his tough guy act. Deep down, he told himself he was grown now, so wanting it all just made sense. He thought about how someone had just slipped into his room late at night and crashed on his bed. It made him wonder what they were really up to, sneaking around like that. Wei Wei started talking, kind of tripping over her words, trying to say she was just worried that you might have messed up. That's why she showed up to see if he was okay. Just grinned, that usual sly look on his face. He couldn't help thinking she really cares, maybe he should do something for her. While was talking, he nudged over to the corner. He couldn't figure out why she wasn't pushing back, but then calmly placed her hand on his chest. Couldn't help but smile. Things were finally getting back on track. He always figured it would go this way. No way someone like him was ending up with the main girl. Wei Wei suddenly looked up and just went for it, planting a kiss on him without hesitating. Just froze. That was his first kiss ever, and it got snatched away before he even knew what was happening. He was the bad guy here, so he had to keep his head straight. Out of nowhere, shoved Wei Wei aside. He planned to call her out, but when he saw his lips start to tremble and her eyes tearing up, he froze. She looked like she was about to cry, and suddenly he couldn't go through with it. Saw the look on her face and just couldn't bring himself to scold her. He let out a sigh, totally giving up, and reached over to mess up her hair a bit. Honestly, when it came to her, he was powerless. When Wei Wei heard it, she just dove straight into his arms, super hyped. She totally trusted that her senior brother wouldn't get mad at her for anything. Could feel her heartbeat right up against his, and that actually got to him. He started thinking that the junior sisters he'd read about in books were nothing like the real ones he'd met since coming to this world. Back when they were kids, would always tear up at the smallest thing. Wei Wei barely ever said a word, just kept to himself. Had been through some rough stuff, so she was super closed off and never wanted to budge on anything. Now, each of the three girls was showing off her own style. When this thought crossed his mind, he couldn't help but smile to himself. The junior sisters didn't feel like NPCs anymore. Even though he always played the tough senior brother in front of everyone behind the scenes, he'd actually done a lot for them without letting it show. Snapped back to reality, Wei Wei had just mentioned that he was good to her. He started to wonder if everything he'd done for her was already out in the open. His hands tightened into fists. He knew he had to settle this tonight, no more guessing, just straight answers. He looked at all serious and told her he was about to hit her with 3 questions. He wanted her to keep it real with every answer. He wondered if he'd actually seen any of them before, just thinking back to see if any faces looked familiar. Just stopped dead for a second, then admitted she hadn't done it, looking totally guilty. Got totally caught up by how good she looked and just accepted it, no questions asked. As far as he could remember, Wei Wei had always been straight with him. He threw out the second question, wanting to know what everyone honestly thought about Yi as a person. Heard what was said and his whole mood changed, his face just dropped. He thought the guy was straight up gross and had no shame at all. He really wanted to say something back but decided against it and just left it there. Caught on pretty fast, Wei Wei was sharper than he'd guessed. She looked sweet, but deep down she'd already figured out what that guy was really like. He got serious for a second and wanted to know if Wei Wei was down to help him set up a trap for Yi. He needed someone who wouldn't back down, and Wei Wei seemed like the perfect teammate to make sure Yi finally learned his lesson. When Wei Wei heard what was going on, her face totally switched up. She was basically ready to handle everything for her senior brother. Did he want her to take the guy out? When should they make a move? Did he want the guy gone, or did he care what happened after? Got chills. He realized his junior sister was on another level when it came to hating Yi, which honestly made things way less complicated for him. Right then, the brute was totally clueless about the trouble coming his way. He just leveled up big time with that hidden move Elder Shirt showed him. Elder Shirt actually looked out for Yi, handing over a new technique even though they'd had beef before. He made sure he knew to keep his head down and pay attention over the next few days. He just brushed it all off when he heard someone say that Yi Wei, the senior sister from Divine Lawn Peak, was here and actually wanted to see him. Just like that, Yi suddenly pictured Wei Wei in his head. Elder was ready to warn him not to mess with Divine Lawn Peak since it was way too risky, but Yi had already said yes before he could even get the words out. He told Elder to chill, totally sure he was unbeatable and couldn't even imagine being scared of a woman. Elder just stood there, biting his tongue, thinking this kid was so cocky he couldn't see straight. He stepped outside and spotted Wei Wei waiting by herself. She stood there, hands folded, just looking super calm and honestly kind of cute. Just stood there, kind of out of it, wondering what was up with her calling him out so late. Showed up, looking a little awkward, and let everyone know she was there to say sorry to junior brother for what senior brother did. She moved her hair out of her face, looking calm and caring. He totally zoned out after that. Whatever she said just went right over his head. He was locked in on Wei Wei, catching every little move she made. When he noticed her cheeks turning red, he couldn't help but think she was into him. Had no clue about this little problem. Whenever she tried to lie, her face would turn red every time. She worried that this might mess up whatever was trying to pull off. She tried hard to hide how grossed out she was by this guy and just said what she had to say. In her head, she blamed senior brother for everything. He noticed right away that her sister was into this dude, so he got jealous. Junior brother was cool. He hadn't done anything to deserve all this. She kept her face looking chill, acting like she cared, but inside she was just hoping she could take this out. In her mind, she was sure her senior brother should only care about her, no one else. She honestly thought he had it coming. After his perfect move, the brute almost teared up. He wondered if Elder caught it too, thinking this girl actually got him. For a second, he felt like fate was finally on his side again. Meanwhile, Elder just stood there in the ring, totally speechless at this guy's wild ideas. Yiqing started acting way too bold, reaching out like he was about to hug Wei Wei. She moved away fast, trying hard not to show how weirded out she was. To her, Yiqing was pushing it way too soon. Figured was just being shy. He thought no big deal. He totally got where senior sister was coming from. She probably just didn't want to admit it. Tonight, it was just the two of them under a cool moon. Started to wonder what might happen next. Before the guy could say anything worse, jumped in fast and switched up the vibe. She suggested they head out and talk somewhere else. He had just made it up the mountain, so now it was time to get the tour. The older guy wanted to make things right for what his senior had done, kind of like saying sorry in his own way. She hopped onto her zither sword and launched herself straight up, taking off into the sky like it was nothing. He was totally caught up in his own thoughts and just went after her, thinking she was messing with him and wanted him to chase. He just sat there looking all proud of himself. Stomach turned, she could just tell this guy was totally in his own head, thinking all sorts of messed up stuff. He was convinced she showed up just for him, not even realizing she was just handling a task senior brother gave her. They touched down next to a chill, silent pool. Wei Wei decided to head out first and chill with a nice smelling bath, telling to hang back and wait for her. Couldn't help himself, he started rubbing his hands, hyped up and ready to go, totally tuning out whatever Elder was saying. The place was packed with spiritual energy, perfect for getting stronger. The yin energy around this place is no joke. Hanging around could actually get risky for him. He felt pretty confident thinking Elder was totally sleeping on him. He figured he could handle himself no matter what came his way. He also noticed heading off to shower and started thinking she was into him. Meanwhile, Elder just went quiet and acted like he didn't even exist, playing dead in the ring. More than an hour ticked by and started to get restless. He just couldn't figure out why someone would need that much time for a bath. Out of nowhere, he got this sneaky thought. He wanted to see for himself what was really going on. When saw the spot called Heavenly Maiden Pool, it clicked for him right away. He figured she was probably there, waiting for him to show up. Up ahead in the pool, there was definitely someone's outline showing through the water. Flashed a goofy grin and stuck his tongue out, totally hyped up as he headed straight for senior sister. The second he moved ahead, water blasted him right in the face. He had just walked right into the Phoenix Song Peak sacred spot, the Heavenly Maiden Pool, like he owned the place. Glanced up and spotted a girl he'd never seen before. She was straight up stunning, with a figure that definitely caught his eye. Right away, his usual instincts kicked in. He wiped his nose and pretty much showed off too, acting like he was totally chill about it. Every time he walks in, girls can't help but notice him. Out of nowhere, a sword's energy slices right through him. That's when you finally got it. This girl was actually out to end him. After pulled one over on Yi and got her into the Celestial Maiden Pool, his system popped up saying the story was back on track. Right after that, he scored a ton of cultivation power just like that. As soon as that energy rushed through him, his clothes just burst off. He could tell he was getting way stronger, like he just leveled up out of nowhere. He was just about to grab some fresh clothes when Wei Wei suddenly swung the door open. The two just stood there, eyes locked, not moving or saying anything. Suddenly screamed, freaking out when she saw her senior brother without a shirt. She couldn't help herself, she just peeked between her fingers instead of looking away. Just stood there totally lost for words, and even he got kind of embarrassed. He thought about grabbing some pants, but the system basically told him to chill or he'd mess up his whole villain vibe. Took a deep breath, squared up and stepped over to Wei Wei. He casually slid his arm around her waist and flashed a confident smirk. He was ready to show Wei Wei what he could do. As soon as pulled his hand back, Wei Wei just stopped, not moving at all. He was actually talking about the huge, glowing white moon up in the sky. Stared at it for a while and out of nowhere he started thinking about his family back on Earth. The homesickness kind of snuck up on him, leaving him a bit down. He gave a quick head rub to keep things chill, making it seem like everything was normal. He wanted her to know she killed it tonight and that they definitely got back at that jerk. Looked down, her face turning a little red now that her senior brother seemed chill again. She started thinking about his promise, wondering if he'd actually make her happy too. Leaning in, she spoke so quietly in his ear that it would give anyone goosebumps. Felt his heart start pounding. He couldn't believe what he just heard. Was he tripping, or was this actually happening? Reached out and grabbed by the collar. In his head, he couldn't help thinking about how much he looked up to. No one else even came close. He wanted to stick with him, not just as a friend, but as someone who'd always have his back on this whole journey wherever it took them. For being by his side was the only thing that really mattered. Right after she put her feelings out there, she glanced up at him. Her eyes were serious. She wasn't playing around. Out of nowhere, suddenly felt the weight of 5 centuries alone. It hit him so hard he nearly slipped up. He caught himself just in time, those villain instincts kicking in. He set his hands on her shoulders, looking dead serious. Wei Wei started to wonder if he just wasn't bold enough for this place. It felt like nobody up on peak actually liked him. He tapped his lips with his finger, thinking maybe he needed to stop being so hard on himself. Back when he first joined the sect, she was the one making porridge for him. When he turned 6, she'd be up late, fixing his zither strings so he could play without any problems. To Wei Wei, her senior brother was honestly the nicest guy around. Nobody came close. Just froze. He couldn't believe the sisters had figured out everything he'd done so far. Everyone saw him as the bad guy, but deep down, he was actually chill and caring. He finally figured out that the reason everyone started acting different was all on him. Everyone hated how acted in the old story. What really got them interested was the new guy from Earth inside him. Slid into his arms, close enough that anyone watching would know something was up. Now the real question was if his senior brother would pick up on his feelings or just let it slide. Was ready to say no, but Wei Wei just hit him with some smooth talk that left him with nothing to say. He freaked out inside. Just like that, his second chance at a first kiss got snatched again. The two leaned in and kissed, just as Rung Rung showed up close by. Things got awkward real quick. Rom's face turned red right away. He realized he definitely picked the worst possible time to show up. Moved fast and stuck his hand out. Now this was actually perfect timing. He wrapped his arms around, holding her close. In his mind, both of them were what kept him going. Just then, a notification popped up. Everything in the story was back on track, and his villain side felt stronger than ever. Felt pretty good about himself, thinking he handled that part fast. Still, he was kind of stuck, not really sure what to do after that. He said they should chill with a drink before heading out to check out the moon, deciding to just let the rest wait until later. Both junior sisters glanced at each other, each with that weird fake smile like they both knew something was up. Suddenly noticed that someone had tied him up. All sorts of memories rushed through his head. He remembered those times he'd quietly stepped up to help his younger sisters without anyone really noticing. Was still trying to figure out what was going on when, clearly tipsy, suddenly leaned against his chest. She seemed to realize he was awake. Couldn't handle her drinks at all. After just a couple of cans, she was already done for. He's the only one who can stick with senior brother all the way and actually have a good time. While she was talking, leaned in, getting closer to him. She pushed her hair out of her face and looked hyped, letting him know she knew he'd been putting in work pretending for so long. Stood over him, not holding back anymore. She was way different now, grown up for real, and she wanted him to see it. Could barely keep it together with her energy coming at him like that. He felt like he was about to lose it. The system wouldn't let up, constantly bugging him to get back into character and reminding him he was supposed to be the villain. Just took a second and breathed in deep. He switched up his face, looking straight up wicked. Right as he was about to say what he'd practiced, just grabbed his face. He always tries to play the bad guy, but deep down he's actually super soft. Honestly, it's kinda cute. After she said that, she leaned in close again, lost his first kiss for the third time. His head just emptied out, and out of nowhere something soft covered his eyes. Turned out it was stockings. She sat right on him, looking super proud of herself. Back then, he snatched up some masters, so she figured he must be into this kind of stuff. Now she was handing over a pair that was basically her way of showing she cared. His brain just froze. He couldn't figure out how he'd found out about the stolen stockings. Didn't even let it process what was happening. She just smiled, looking down. His heart started racing. He was hyped, but also kind of freaking out. It hit him that tonight might be the end of his whole villain act. Right then, a cool breeze rolled through, shivered, and let out a sneeze. She snapped back to reality right away. Her cheeks turned bright red. She realized she'd gone overboard last night and messed with her senior, all because she couldn't handle her drinks. Now she just felt super embarrassed thinking about it. Had no idea what to even think. Everything had been set up just right, but then it all crashed at the end. It honestly felt like the author was just messing with him. They both hurried to get dressed. suddenly remembered something important. She really wanted to skip the martial meet again this year so she could take care of Yi herself. Turned it down, making up some reason. Since he was playing the bad guy, he had to take his shot at this important moment and let Yichin totally shut him down. The system just wouldn't let him catch a break. Out of nowhere, it hit him with a notification his villain's side was back online. As if that wasn't enough, he unlocked some wild new move, Immortal Movement Art. The name alone, Drunken Immortal Moongazing Steps, sounded like something straight out of an epic. As was soaring through the sky, he nearly wiped out. He muttered under his breath, annoyed at the stupid system for cranking up his power again. He started to wonder if the upgrade that was supposed to go to Yi somehow landed on him instead. Thinking about it just made his head pound, so he decided to just zone out and get back to working on the story. After he walked out, his face got serious. Was acting just like the heavenly memory said he would, dead set on going up against Yi. That had her really stressing. Thinking back to how Yi got embarrassed at the disciples' ceremony, she started to feel lost again. Was the future really going to be different now? She kept turning all these questions over in her head, and meanwhile, Wei Wei, who was totally wasted, rolled over right next to her. Was mumbling stuff nobody could really understand. Just reached over and brushed her cheek, keeping things chill. She always treated her junior like family, but deep down, she hoped her junior wouldn't try to compete with her for their senior brother's attention. As long as there was no drama between them over him, she planned to look out for her junior no matter what. At the same time, word got out that Yi got caught sneaking a look at his senior sister while she was bathing. Sumei heard about it and didn't even hesitate. She had him sent straight to the death prison, no questions asked. He slumped on the couch, everything around him looking weirdly green. Just let out a sigh, hoping the kid would chill for a second. That Shura aura from the girl really messed with his eyes. Ichun hit the floor hard, totally fed up. He couldn't believe and played him like that. In his head, he promised he'd get them back for this, no matter what. Right after he yelled, some insane power ripped through the whole prison, breaking everything apart. Walked in, looking ready to end it. She had her sights set on young Master Yi. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. Now that she had him cornered, she wanted to know how he planned to handle his last moments. Saw it coming his way and totally froze up. Inside, he was freaking out and hoping Old would bail him out. This time, Old just kept playing dead. Without his usual advantage, his face went pale. Dude looked like he'd seen a ghost. He looked so down bad that even had to do a double take. This kid, who was supposed to be some big deal in the heavens, just sat there looking completely wrecked, and honestly it just made her dislike him that much more. She reached out and got Yi by the throat with just one hand, ready to break his neck right there. He started fighting back hard, trying anything to get loose. Didn't flinch. All she could think about was taking down Yi and changing how things ended. Right then, Aichin's eyes started rolling back. Everything around them started warping out of control. Yi suddenly got pulled out of his hold and just disappeared. Like someone hit the teleport button and he was gone. Suddenly knew what was up. From what Heavenly remembered, Yi had some secret pro backing him. Now that everyone knew they were enemies, keeping Yi around would just cause non-stop problems. Still, she couldn't figure out how to take him out for good. She thought back to the disciples' ceremony and it suddenly hit her, was the one who could flip the script for everyone. Whenever popped into her head, she couldn't help but smile. She remembered how she and her junior sister had always been rivals, always chasing after each other, but she was usually the one catching up. Now though she was sure things were about to flip this time, she was ready to win, especially since it involved her junior's favorite student. Sumei knew she could easily win over a guy like him, no question. While you managed to slip away from her, Old told him to get out of there fast. He wanted you to take some time away from the Qinglan Immortal sect, level up, and then come back ready to wipe out the whole mountain with just his sword. Had totally lost it by now. He stared down Elder, clearly fed up and thinking the guy was just leeching off him. Pretty much made it clear, if Elder wanted to stay alive, he had to do whatever said. Elder just stood there, totally lost for words. He let out a heavy sigh, clearly out of options. He showed this crooked grin, totally hyped because he just found out Elder Yuan Yu was actually part of a demonic cult on the low. Now he was already plotting to team up with them. He called out his Valkyrie little sister, Yi, even though they weren't actually related by blood, to take charge of 800,000 soldiers. She went straight to a regular mortal sect and took control. Then she grabbed in the junior sisters, bringing them in just to make them suffer right where he could see it all go down. Elder, after living longer than pretty much anyone, just got hit with something he didn't see coming. He started to wonder if this was really the same legendary kid he remembered from before. From his point of view, he was totally gone, lost in some wild, out-of-control rage. At this point, there was no way to bring him back. Out of everyone, really seemed like the lucky one. Fate had its own plans. His luck was still unreal. As he ran, he randomly ended up inside the sword training grounds of the Immortal Sect. The sword tomb usually only opens up once every 10 years. As soon as he showed up, the seal started to come undone. Something intense started pouring out from inside both of them. Yi's eyes lit up and he didn't waste a second. He darted straight in to grab the treasure. The elders were stressing out, saying this place was way out of his league. They kept trying to tell him he couldn't handle it, but just tuned them out. He wasn't about to let someone boss him around. He pushed his way in and started checking every corner. Not long after, he stumbled across this weird-looking sword that gave off some seriously intense vibes. Nobody expected to see a demon sword in a place like this, and the elders totally freaked out. But he was just chilling. To him, a demon sword sounded awesome, exactly the kind of thing a guy like him would want to flex. He didn't even hesitate, he just walked up and went for it, ready to pull it out himself. The older folks weren't having it though. They stepped in, trying to hold him back. They thought he was about to do something wild. Just rolled his eyes, thinking there's no way from Qing Lan Immortal Set could handle it if he can. He reminded the old man who was really in charge. Elder tried to say something, but all that came out was a weak, half-hearted answer. He could tell the kid's luck was just off the charts, like he was actually meant to control the demonic sword. Right after he spoke, the brute noticed his sword shaking like crazy in his grip. Out of nowhere, this insane wave of dark energy exploded. He actually yanked out the sword that had been locked away for 10,000 years. The brute's face lit up, looking totally hyped. He was hyped and ready to flex, but then everything came crashing down. Out of nowhere, his master showed up. She looked stunning and had this insane celestial sword in her hand. Tonight, she wasn't messing around. She was there to end him. Going off what Heavenly remembers, actually went head-to-head with Yi in a sword fight. After she lost, he totally embarrassed her in front of everyone. Then he took it even further, saying that if she and her crew didn't fall in line, he'd wipe out's whole sect. This time around, wasn't about to waste any time. She got it in her head to grab the demonic sword before anyone else and swipe the shot that was supposed to go to Yi. He kept pulling on the sword, but it just wouldn't move. No matter how hard he tried, it stayed stuck right where it was. Her waist and back hurt a lot. She decided to go with her backup plan. She'd hang back until Yi showed up, wait for him to draw his sword, and then team up with Qing Lan's ancestor, Elder, to take him out right there. Just like everyone expected when showed up, the brute couldn't look away. She was this absolute legend, older, confident, and basically on another level compared to that old guy before. Having her offer to teach him was a total game changer. He got hyped when he noticed Ling acting kind of sweet around him. He started to notice how Fairy always looked out for him, going out of her way to help. He couldn't help but wonder if she actually liked him. When leaned in closer, could feel his heart racing like crazy. He was locked in, knowing that tonight things might actually take off between them, and he might finally experience what real happiness feels like. What he got instead was someone yelling at him, totally losing it. Just like something straight out of a wild dream, didn't hold back at all. She smacked Yi so hard he went flying and got plastered to the ceiling, completely stuck up there. She straight up told him he wasn't even close to being on level, like he didn't matter at all. That one line just broke Yi. It was pulling this again. Yi, totally losing it, grabbed the demonic sword and rushed straight at Ling, not even thinking about backing down. The brood just wasn't strong enough. After one quick clash, he got sent flying. He was seconds away from getting taken out by her blade. Out of nowhere, a thunderbolt straight from the ninth heaven dropped right in front of him. The blast landed right on. Seeing this happen, he just sat there totally stunned. Armor showed up again. He wondered if the author even cared about making sense. The author was already ahead of the game, lining up what came next as the brute lifted his sword and started moving toward who was seriously hurt. She looked like she was about to drop, barely able to stay on her feet, and her weapon just slipped right out of her hands. He showed off this nasty grin. He stretched out his hand, ready to pull himself up to the top. Out of nowhere, the jade pendant Ling always wore lit up, breaking her free from all the divine thunder holding her down. Yi's face changed up. Out of nowhere, he got slammed by this wild burst of sword energy, catching him totally off guard. Just stayed chill, he didn't even flinch. In his mind, he knew that if Fairy tried anything, he'd be fine. Heaven had his back last time, so he figured nothing could touch him now. He felt pretty much untouchable at this point. Popped up behind him out of nowhere and hit him right on the neck. She wasn't out to finish him off, just wanted to teach him a lesson since taking him out for good was off limits. After that, she walked over and kicked Yi, who was totally out cold. She wasn't having any of his attitude, basically letting him know that messing around in front of her was not it. If he tried anything again, she'd straight up embarrass him in front of everyone at sect, actually drag him out and put him on display. Once let out all her anger, she got herself together and wiped his memories from the whole day. Since taking him out wasn't an option, she just made sure he wouldn't remember a thing. Elder had been lurking close by, keeping an eye on everything. When it was clear she wasn't looking his way, he finally relaxed. Good thing she had no idea he was even there. He made a small sound and that got her to notice him. She remembered he was still there, calling him old man in her head. Then she sent a spell straight into the ring. A few moments later, Elder's sword dropped to the ground right by Yi. Ling called up Elder, opened her eyes, realizing their plan to quietly take out Ichun totally flopped. That guy just had unreal luck, almost like the universe itself had his back. Let out a breath, that jade pendant really saved him from getting hit by the thunder. Shower gave it to him back when they were kids, but he figured Shower probably doesn't even remember that anymore. Could tell something was off, things weren't going how they used to. At this point, might be the only guy who can actually stand up to Yi. Ling decided right then what needed to be done. Before things got serious, they had to set everything up for. Woke up after a rough night and just chilled in the tub trying to recover. He got out of the tub thinking about crashing for another nap. Junior was chilling in his room when his sister came in out of nowhere. She let him know that Yi, the guy everyone's been talking about, just got caught and was about to face trial in the main hall. Ying just stopped talking out of nowhere while he was in the middle of his sentence. He and the other guy stood there just staring at each other, and the vibe got awkward real quick. Tried to calm himself down, no need to freak out, it wasn't a big deal. She already knew who he was, and besides, in this story he's supposed to be the bad guy anyway. He flashed a sneaky grin and strolled over to her. Meanwhile, hurried into her brother's room, probably hoping she'd pick up something actually useful this time. The system popped up saying his villain side was back online and dropping rewards, a secret move from the Ha sect and a stash of 100 sea dog pills. Just scrolled past it. Stuff like that didn't matter to him, he was focused on doing things his own way. Honestly clueless and kind of innocent, just tilted her head like she had no idea what was going on. She really didn't get it and wanted her senior brother to show her the ropes. Clapped a hand over his own mouth, instantly regretting what he just said. Guilt started to creep in because honestly she didn't deserve any of that, she was way too pure for this. He knew he'd only said that to play the bad guy and now it was hitting him hard. He rushed to get out the door and shut it fast, then headed off to swap his clothes. He had no clue what was about to happen when the door closed. As soon as it clicked shut, switched up completely. She was still catching her breath, replaying what just happened in her head. Her face got this intense look, kind of wild. Seeing her brother like that got her thinking all sorts of things, like she couldn't help herself from wanting more. Once snapped out of her daydream, she was set on finding a new shot to take down Yi. She wasn't about to give up on winning over senior brother, no matter what it took. Back at the Phoenix Cry Peak dorms, Wan Ning got hit with the memories from the Heavenly just like that. Going through those memories, she could see straight up that Yi was the reason the whole immortal sect got wiped out. He didn't even bother to check on the younger girls who'd gotten hurt. He figured it was best to go help out first. Wan Ning watched Yi walk away, clenching her jaw. She couldn't help thinking if he hadn't dragged things out this whole time, their sect probably wouldn't be in such a mess. Later on, and Yi teamed up and pulled out their twin sword move together. He jumped in and got out of there. For the first time, Wan Ning really saw how fake and cold could be. She woke up, totally set on getting back at him. The thing that stuck with him the most was that name said in her dream shower. That moment just wouldn't leave his head. Everyone started looking around, trying to figure out if that was from Divine Wan Peak. Right then, walked into the main hall with Right by his side. Wanning walked over fast, her long legs catching Sai. The way she pulled off those stockings and that curve had his mind racing. He honestly felt like he could take on anything if it meant seeing her like that again. He was a pro at playing the bad guy, so right away a sneaky smirk showed up on his face. He clocked that this was Junior's sister standing right in front of him. Meeting her in person, way better than any story he'd heard, she was straight up stunning. Ying squared up, clearly annoyed. He didn't think legs were impressive at all. He'd already seen what senior brother was working with, nobody else here could say the same. Figured Wan Ning showed up just to talk about how they were going to help Yi-chun. The second she brought up Yi, her face totally changed, she looked straight up disgusted. Everyone knew the guy was shameless, especially after he tried to mess with them at the disciples' ceremony. She was dead set on teaming up as chief disciples to finally put Yi in his place. Just stood there, caught off guard. He couldn't believe how fired up she was. He rushed to say he was just trying to do the right thing, nothing shady about it. Even if he messed up, he thought the guy deserved a legit chance to prove himself. After hearing all that, Wanning couldn't help but turn red. People always talked about how had zero shame, but seeing him today, he actually looked pretty legit and put together. Knew what was really like, and it seriously ticked her off. She couldn't figure out why he only acted this way around the other senior sisters. He walked into the hall and nodded to the elders, keeping it respectful as always. Saw something that totally threw him off. The legendary Yi, who everyone thought was unbeatable, was actually down on his knees crying to some low-level boss. When he noticed staring at him, he shot back a sharp glare, not backing down at all. Kept it cool on the outside, throwing a casual nod, but inside he was really annoyed. If he didn't have this mission locked in, he could wipe the floor with that guy, no question. He was acting way off, and that got him thinking. The guy didn't seem like some chosen one or anything. It honestly made him wonder if his luck was just running out. Everyone from the immortal sect showed up in the main hall, getting ready to call out Yi for sneaking into the girls' bath late at night. The brutes jumped ahead, pushing to own up to sending Junior's sister, Wei Wei, to trick Yi into going to the Celestial Maiden Pool. Zoned out for a second, trying to figure out how to prove he was innocent without totally wrecking Yi-chun. Just stood there not saying anything, and the two villains started acting like they already won. They figured if he was quiet for this long, he must be too scared to speak up. Meanwhile, his teacher was just watching, pretty much ready to handle things his own way if couldn't clear his name. While was having a tough time, Su-mei, the older sister, stepped up. She and her junior sister were than most families. Whoever her junior sister taught, she considered her own too, so she decided to handle things herself and go talk to him. Nearly lost it right then and there. He'd always figured his master and just couldn't stand each other. But seeing her back him up today totally caught him him off guard. He knew he owed her big time for that. He clenched his jaw, clearly annoyed that things didn't go his way. In his head, he couldn't help but think how much he hated this. If things had played out just a little longer, that guy would have been done for today. Things got weird and you couldn't shake off this uneasy feeling. He started wondering if was out here straight up taking what should been his. Everyone could tell was trying to look out for her. She spoke softly, not trying to start anything. She wanted to know if had actually sent his junior sister to check up on you the night before. Didn't try to hide it, he just owned up to it right away. He just wanted her to let him tag along so he could say sorry to the guy himself. Couldn't figure out why anyone would just admit it. Wouldn't it make way more sense to just blame both sides and dodge the heat? Put on this serious look, like he was ready to handle things as the older brother. He figured it was time to clear things up between them and just move on. Everyone in the room froze after hearing him talk. Nobody expected, who had a reputation for being shameless, to come off so legit. Today he actually looked like a stand-up guy. Kept telling his story, even sticking up for Yi. Since he was new to the mountain, he probably just got lost. And his junior sister were about to go find him. The people around really respected how chill and understanding was. All the hype got the brute totally worked up. Finally quit talking trash. It was obvious Suyue got sent over just to mess with him. Snapped and told everyone to quiet down. He made it clear that this was an interrogation and nobody should be talking unless they were told to. When she looked over at her, whole vibe switched up, way more chill. Everyone else caught it and couldn't help but wish they got that kind of treatment. Even Wanting, who's usually pretty chill and closed off, actually got up. No cap, wasn't lying about this. Even though Wanting pretty much couldn't stand Yi, she still decided to team up with and let the guy live. When their eyes connected, almost teared up right then and there. Right then the big guy lost it and charged ahead, bawling with snot and tears all over his face. He was desperate, telling the sect master that everyone was teaming up against him and begging for someone to step in and make things right. Everyone else around might actually buy his act but just saw it as straight up childish. If there was some kind of acting contest, knew he'd never take the. He pressed his fist to his chest, acting like he was all about honesty, trying to look super righteous. Everyone nearby couldn't help but notice how legit he looked, some even whispering to each other about it. Started to push back, but his master just shut him up with a hand over his mouth. He realized something tough. If someone's way more popular or powerful, most people won't even bother to hear your side. He wasn't stressing about it, he believed him. After what happened today, he was set on making them pay for it no matter what. Saw the old demon plotting something and just went silent right away. Out of nowhere, his master switched things up and started playing the peacemaker, telling him to say sorry to. His hands started shaking from embarrassment. Even though he was the one who got hurt, he was the one who had to say sorry. He caught his master's stare and just knew he had to suck it up. He kept his head low and his jaw tight, but he still managed to pull off a quick bow and even stuck his hand out for a handshake. Out of nowhere, someone ran into the hall and landed a punch right on Yi's face. Turns out, he wasn't about to let Yi mess with his disciple. She was known for always going overboard with her students, and everyone said she spoiled like he was some rare find. She rushed over to check if he was okay, clearly worried since someone had just tried to sneak attack him. Nobody saw it coming. He actually showed up to say sorry, just stood there completely caught off guard. Her face turned bright red as she grabbed and pulled him out of the hall. Everyone around them couldn't help but get jealous watching how close they were, except for Ing, who just looked like he was seriously not having it. He finished before anyone else, but then his master suddenly jumped in. Wasn't having a great day either. She thought since messed up from drinking, might as well crash at her Phoenix song peak for a bit. The elders were cool with it. Licked her lips, hoping whatever was about to send her way wouldn't slip past her mouth. After totally wrecked Yi, she took straight back to Divine One Peak. She ran her hand over his cheek real soft. She wanted him to know there was nothing to worry about now. They made it home safe and nobody around here was messing with him. Heard all those nice words, but honestly he was about to tear up. His master just kept messing up the story, and now it really looked like he was done for. Noticed how Shower looked and could tell something was off. She wondered if he was upset and started thinking maybe she messed up. She really wanted to know what was going on with him. Guys know the drill. When a woman asks for the truth, you don't actually just spill everything. Totally missed that memo. At first, he started off just venting a little, nothing serious. But as he kept going, his words got sharper and you could tell he was actually getting pretty mad. He even brought up the time she made a mess after drinking, like he couldn't hold it in anymore. He finished talking and closed his eyes, bracing himself for a slap that might change how things were going, but nothing happened. He opened his eyes and saw Ling, who was always chill, actually tearing up like she'd just taken a real hit. Master never really bothered with what other people thought about her, but knowing that he saw her like this, that got to her in a way nothing else ever had. She felt like she got done dirty, so she looked away and just wanted gone. Seeing the guy who messed her up wasn't something she was about to deal with right now. Right then, Elder's words kept playing in her head. She couldn't help but think about how bad Ling had it. You wanted to know if he'd stick around forever, but he paused. It was obvious he wasn't really serious about it. The more she dwelled on it, the worse it stung. At one point she even thought about just walking away from this whole master-disciple thing. If she stopped expecting anything, maybe stuff wouldn't hurt as much anymore. One second she was just standing there, and the next, wrapped her up in a strong hug from behind. Looking at all the time she spent helping out and seeing her cry, stuff like missions or villains just didn't matter anymore. Thinking back on what she'd said before, finally laid it all out, no holding back this time. He was ready to stick with his master for life, planning to stay by his side right up until his last day. Ling just sat there, stuck in her own sadness. She stopped moving, face turning red while she put a hand over her mouth. It was like her brain glitched for a second. She couldn't believe what she'd just heard. She spun around, and just like that, all the sadness on her face disappeared. Now she looked straight up happy, like she just heard the best news ever. Saw her smile, and it honestly hit different. For the first time, he noticed how good she looked when she was happy. Right then, he promised himself he'd do whatever it takes to make sure she never cries again. The two of them patched things up. After that, Ling let in on her next move. She said she'd have his back at the Five-Vein Martial meet, planning to help him blow up and get his name out there in the whole cultivation scene. Saw his master going at the drinks again, and honestly his head just throbbed. He really hoped his master wouldn't start any more drama. She brought up his goals, and he answered straight away. He didn't care about being in charge or anything like that. All he wanted was to stick by master and hang out with his 3 junior sisters for the rest of his life. She wasn't too happy at first, but after that she started to chill out. She raised her head, looking straight at him. She let him know she had a plan so he could stick around with them for a while. There's a catch with this method: nothing comes free. Had to decide if it was worth it. Could feel sweat sliding down his back. He remembered from the story that his master used to be a sword emperor in her past life. Now she might be about to level him up big time. He quickly switched topics and pulled out some fancy wine, ready to share a drink with his master for the night. Her focus snapped somewhere else. She realized he actually paid attention and cared, and it hit her that she raised someone decent. She had a few drinks, then suddenly dropped right in front of him, totally letting her guard down. She drifted into a dream, and suddenly, it was like she was right back in that insane moment from before. The Five-Vein Martial meet was going down, and you just straight up dominated, barely giving him a chance. With nowhere left to run, pulled out the abyssal black lotus he'd swiped earlier and went for a surprise move. She blocked his way. At that moment he could tell she was straight up let down by him. Stared back at her, not backing down. In his head he just kept telling himself that you wasn't someone he could trust. She kept her eyes off him and let the disciples pull him away, sending him straight to the cliff of remorse to think things over. Later on, when she went to see how he was doing, she found had ended his own life. He was just too worn out, and it all got to him. She snapped out of sleep, heart pounding, after a wild dream messed with her head. She tried to catch her breath, heart racing, like the nightmare wouldn't let her go. She grabbed his face with both hands, clearly tipsy and trying to get some words out. Her arms dropped and she drifted right back to sleep. Noticed his master was out cold, so he finally relaxed. At least now he didn't have to stress about her ruining what was coming next. He'd already gotten his master wasted, so messing around a bit more just felt like classic villain behavior. He looked around for a bit, then grabbed the abyss-severing black lotus from his master. Now that he had the mission item, things were set. Was about to head out. He snapped back to his villain side. This was one of those chances that barely ever came up, and honestly he'd been waiting to pull this move for ages. Tonight was the perfect time to just go for it and have some fun with it. He headed back to his bed and reached out for her, who was still knocked out asleep. Her cheeks were super soft, almost bouncy, and it honestly felt awesome. Climbed on top of her and just kept squishing her cheeks, not wanting to stop. Watching his master's face get squished into a dumpling shape, just laughed, kind of not sure what else to do. He dropped his head and gave a quick kiss to the red mark, then walked away looking pretty pleased with himself. As soon as Chow dipped out, eyes popped open. Whenever she remembered what happened, her face heated up. Her hand went straight to the spot where he kissed her, and she couldn't help but wonder how he got so good at this stuff. She'd been awake for a while already. She just kept her eyes shut to see if would try to swipe the abyss-severing black lotus while he thought she was out cold. Had no clue that the lotus wasn't just any normal treasure. Elder had already leveled it up, turning it into the 9 Nether Azure Lotus, a legit celestial artifact that packed way more power than he ever expected. Started wondering about, it was almost like already knew what was coming, which made question if her training had leveled up so much that she could actually see things before they happen. Just shook her head, not really confident, and admitted she could barely pick up on fate stuff. Then she turned to, wondering if taking down someone like Yi, who's got that main character energy, meant you had to drain his luck first. Just nodded, basically confirming it. He mentioned it might not even be needed. Earlier, when showed up, she noticed this thin gold thread of fate from the upper realm hanging on him. Just stopped in her tracks. She started thinking, wondering if her disciple was actually one of those chosen kids from the upper realm too. Has this mysterious smile, like he knows something nobody else does. He's just a regular guy, nothing special on the surface. But with you quietly watching his back, things in his life are starting to shift. He's about to level up and flip the whole chosen one story on its head. Started thinking back to her days with, when she was a kid, her parents got taken out by a beast, and after that she got sent off to the Sacred Beast Academy. That's where she started learning how to tame beasts, all with the goal of getting payback for her parents. Whenever real monsters showed up, little Ying totally lost it. He couldn't stop crying and kept messing up the spells every single time. Right then, she was about to get taken out by this massive wolfhound. Didn't hesitate, he just sprinted in, ready to help her out. From then on, his face was kinda stuck in her mind, like she couldn't forget him no matter what. It was pretty late when suddenly woke up to some weird sounds. She pushed the door open and saw the body of that eagle-headed monster, the same one that took out her parents, just lying there outside. Way out in the shadows, stood there beat up and covered in cuts. Could remember it all like it just happened yesterday. Whenever the memory popped into her head, she couldn't help but smile. Right then, someone's hands came out of nowhere and grabbed around the waist. Was just about to start a game of Guess Who I Am, but clocked him right away. She could recognize his scent right away since she'd hung onto his sleeve for so long, and that sleeve belonged to him. Had no clue about any of this. He still saw his junior sister as sweet and innocent, thinking that weird moment she had earlier was just some random bug in the story. Ying suddenly reached out and pulled close, telling him she had something huge planned for him. They headed up to the top of the mountain together. He looked up and the sky was packed with these 7-colored fire phoenixes, lighting everything up like some wild fantasy scene. Froze for a second when he saw them. Those beasts were ancient spirit animals, super rare even in the whole cultivation scene. Just pulled up with a bunch like it was nothing. He finally caught on that his junior, who always acted cute and harmless, was actually holding some serious power behind the scenes. Nobody really knew what was up to with those fire phoenixes. He remembered how his senior brother always talked about hunting down the rarest treasures out there. These might not be exactly what he dreamed of, but honestly they're rare enough to make anyone look twice. When heard that, something warm kind of hit him. Back then, he just said he wanted to make it back to Earth and see his family again. He honestly thought would forget what he said ages ago, so it caught him off guard that she still remembered. Just stood there looking down and not saying anything. Started freaking out a little, thinking maybe he didn't like what she'd done. She felt bad about it, thinking she probably messed up again. Whenever a girl started tearing up and calling herself dumb, just couldn't ignore it. He went over and hugged her. Stuff like that always got to him, no matter what. He thanked her softly and that was all it took. His cheeks started to blush. Without thinking twice, she closed her eyes and just relaxed into his arms. She hugged him tight, then out of nowhere, she jumped up and tackled him. In that moment, it was clear she was totally into him too. She used the burst of speed to knock down. When their eyes locked, things got real close, almost like time slowed down for a second. Wasn't about to let this moment slip by. She shut her eyes, leaned in and went for it, kissing again and snagging his first kiss all over. Just stood there totally blank. He couldn't believe his first kiss got snatched again. Junior's sister really had game, way more than he could handle, even though he always thought he was the bold one. Right then, the system showed up, asking him to get back into his villain role. He couldn't believe he had to deal with this setup again. Ended up rolling over and holding him down, flashing that classic sly grin he always had. He started doing his usual thing, acting like a total flirt. Didn't even flinch this time, she just hid her grin, looking all smug. Her senior always tried the same old moves, trying to win her over with stuff like fruit. It was honestly pretty weak. Could feel his face heating up, annoyed that she clearly wasn't impressed with him at all. That weird tension between them got cut off pretty quick. Out of nowhere, a bunch of meteors showed up in the sky. Out of nowhere, meteors started slamming into the ground. His memory snapped into place. This was that main moment from the story, the 7-star Fate Invocation Array. Before he died, Tai Wu was known as the Immortal Sex. He'd been holding back the Blood Demon, the boss of the Forbidden Zone. Meteors crashed down and totally messed up the formation. They went down and that's when the boss showed up. In the original story, once he got his cheat, he was the only one who could actually stand up to it. Now realized he was holding his secret weapon, the Qing Lan sword, all for himself. His face changed up quick. With Yi out of the picture, he started thinking, who was supposed to take down that boss now? Noticed something was off with him right away. He could tell his senior brother was acting different, and even though he didn't know what was up, he decided he'd have his back no matter what. Was ready to look out for him, no questions asked. When heard her, he just clenched his teeth and stayed quiet. He already knew what was up, but he didn't even want to go there in his head. He was the villain and Yi was the main character. Guys like him were always just there to get stepped on, like that was their whole job. Finally decided what he was gonna do. He reached out and gave his head a soft rub. He figured, as her older brother, he had to look out for her no matter what. At the Five Veins tournament, saw he was up against Yi and just decided to give up without a fight. He totally checked out, like he was just there to vibe and not even try. The system just wouldn't let up on him. He barely did anything, but his cultivation shot up all the way to golden core anyway. Just sat there totally lost for words. Seriously, even main characters gotta have some rules when they're breaking the game. Meanwhile, he's over here as the villain, getting buffed just by existing, like, literally just breathing and leveling up. He didn't want to get caught up in all that system stuff, so he just chilled in his cave all day, catching naps and pretty much doing nothing. He's just hanging out, having fun, and slowly losing his drive. 10 days later, instead of losing any of his powers, he actually picked up a bunch of new skills out of nowhere. Was dealing with a killer headache when his guy showed up with some news. The sect was about to pick disciples for the Five Veins tournament. That snapped out of it. He realized the story was moving right along. After you beat him, everyone just left him behind. He couldn't handle it and ended his own life. Grabbed a weapon, ready to get payback, but things didn't go his way. He ended up dying in a rough way too. Story ended right there. He never even saw it coming, just used him the whole time, never really saw him as anything more than a tool. Started thinking hard about and figured it was time to step in and switch things up for him. That Five Veins tournament was supposed to be the last time people saw as the bad guy, but knew he didn't have to let things end like that. Didn't deserve to just get wiped out. He waved over and, looking serious, told him straight up that this life just wasn't for him. Then he handed something over, like he wanted to have a shot at something better. He knew whatever went down in the tournament, he couldn't step in. Once it was all over, the plan was simple. Head off the mountain, settle somewhere chill, find someone to marry, and just live easy. That was it. Eyes started to water. He decided he'd just chill and live like a regular dude from now on, not causing any trouble. Noticed how on point he was, gave a quick nod, messed up his hair a bit, then walked straight to the arena. Didn't even realize it, but after seeing how genuine he was, she started wanting to do something nice for him in return. Walked into the arena, looking confident and ready for whatever was coming. Out of nowhere, someone stepped right in front of him, making him stop in his tracks. He glanced down and saw and Wei Wei, both standing super close on either side of him, basically sandwiching him in the middle. Suddenly found it hard to catch his breath. Both girls totally freaked out when they realized what happened. Just hit golden core out of nowhere and his face dropped. He was supposed to be the weak link, just chilling in the background. Now he had to figure out how to explain leveling up this fast. He didn't bother sugarcoating it, he just laid it out. He gets stronger every time he takes a breath. Honestly, that's pretty wild. Out of nowhere, both girls' faces changed up fast, eyes starting to water. Everyone saw it as senior brother stepping up against Yi to keep everyone safe, grinding so hard he actually powered up to golden core in just 10 days. It was honestly risky stuff. Even so, his older brother just kept it cool like nothing was going on. Froze when he got hugged again. He'd honestly just been chilling for 10 days, so he didn't get why the other two were acting like it was a huge deal. To him, it felt kind of random how emotional they were getting about it. He was still clueless about what to do with the two junior sisters when his master suddenly showed up. Stretched, not really caring who was watching, and just picked out who was playing in the match. She glanced over at her disciple, only to see all three of them clumped up together. His hand tightened up real quick. Seeing people all over each other like that in the middle of the day just felt embarrassing. She wanted to go off on him, but then it hit her. She really couldn't step in and mess with her disciples' dating stuff. She just had to hold in her jealousy, even though it stung and her chest hurt like crazy. She was clearly annoyed, and right then one of the disciples suddenly showed up, flying straight up Divine Wand Peak. Yi, known for being a total beast, sent over a challenge letter straight to. When spotted him, he finally relaxed. Everything was starting to go as planned, and he was glad Beast actually came through. Right after that, the system popped off with an update. His villain stats were back, and he suddenly got a ton of EXP. His power shot straight up to Golden Core Peak. He was so close to snapping at the system. At this point, it wasn't even trying to hide how wild it was. He kept his villain act going and tossed some trash talk at the messenger, just to stay in character. He just grinned and went for it, ready to take on whatever was coming. The two younger girls step in, trying to hold him back. They really don't want him to take on this challenge, like he doesn't have to prove anything. Senior brother just stands there not moving. Wasn't having any of it and completely shut them up. She got up all business, not messing around at all. In her eyes was on another level, no one else even came close. She didn't see any reason to stress about Yi. She wanted everyone to know that was about to shut him down, make him take the L and leave him totally embarrassed. Felt something real, his master always came through, he could actually count on her. With her stepping up, things were finally starting to go somewhere. And weren't having it, they hurried over too, wanting to take the hit themselves. They really didn't want their senior brother to mess up his hands by dealing with Ichun. The sisters started worrying that might not make it, just like what happened in the original story. Didn't know it all, and honestly he just wanted everything to end fast. He straight up turned down any help they tried to give him. He jumped up on the roof, standing tall like he owned the place. He wanted everyone to remember that real cultivators never back down from a fight. He stood there looking like he just dropped in from another world, and every disciple around couldn't look away. They were straight up frozen, totally locked in on him. The three who already knew how things were supposed to go still got caught up watching. Wei Wei just ran up and crashed right into him, no hesitation. This time he grabbed both at the same time, treating them exactly the same. Right when started to actually catch some feelings, the system showed up out of nowhere with a reward. He got Sect Artifact, a wild weapon called the Devil Desire Triple-Headed Spear. This thing was especially op against female opponents, making them feel crazy good and messing with their minds big time. Was straight up confused. He couldn't figure out if this thing was even legit or why it was handed to him in the first place. Right then, jumped into the conversation. Out of nowhere, got pulled away right as his disciples were holding him close. They hauled him back up the mountain, calling it special training like that made it any better. They saw their senior brother getting pulled away, and both got serious about leveling up. They knew the only way to really get his attention was to step up their game and get stronger than everyone else. When got to his cave, he stopped for a sec, kind of thrown off. He spotted Ling chilling on this old swing, just kind of hanging out by himself. She slipped off her fancy shoes and started swinging her feet, looking way happier than usual, like she was a kid again. She spotted something from the past and realized her master had actually held on to it this whole time. When Ling heard someone say swing, a soft smile showed up on her face. The morning after she got sober, she was already thinking about heading out for another round of drinks. He noticed a small swing set up right outside her door with flowers all around it. There was a note stuck to it that said he should cut back on drinking. If he really wanted a drink, he should just chill at home instead. After that, she just stopped going out for drinks completely. When noticed how happy she looked, something inside him relaxed a bit. Right when he was about to switch things up, a pale jade-white foot softly bumped his chin. In the next second, using the swing's movement, Ling hooked her legs around his waist and held on tight. His master couldn't believe it. His younger classmates could mess around with him, but when it came to her, suddenly it was off limits. Didn't see that coming at all. Her words just hit him out of nowhere. Was always impossible to predict. She'd be teasing one moment, then out of nowhere, she'd drag him straight into the spiritual realm. They plan to put him through training at that spot. He's got a legit mentor backing him up, and he's already leveled up to Golden Core. This is the moment to go all in, no holding back. He grabbed the formless sword body she gave him, ready to go all out and show his skills to master. Before she could even finish her words, Sword Kai came flying at him from all directions. Just managed to block them in time. He suddenly got hit with this heavy pressure, like something just dropped on him out of nowhere. Didn't let up for a second, she rushed straight at him, swinging nothing but a tree branch. In this world where everyone's power was supposed to be on the same level, she just picked up a branch and handled him like it was nothing. She kept swinging at him, wanting to know why she was the one winning. Kept getting pushed to his limit, and it finally clicked for him. The problem wasn't that his master was just crazy strong. Her sword had this thing called sword momentum, and that's what let her totally dominate, even if she wasn't supposed to be stronger. With that, she could take down anyone, no matter who had the upper hand. When nailed the right answer, Ling finally relaxed. She drifted down, almost like something out of a fantasy, and helped him get back on his feet. He had to admit his shower was next level. Looked like today was the day she'd show him another crazy move. Shower squared up and got ready to throw down against her master, not backing down for a second. Ling gripped her immortal sword, gearing up to go all out with her strongest move. Out of nowhere, a bunch of vines showed up and grabbed her leg tight. Flashed a confident grin. He was about to flex his best sword move for real. Had never been hit with something this wild before. Her weapon slipped from her hands and her legs just gave out. Her body felt weak and she kind of freaked out. Stood there looking all smug and started breaking down the move, calling it Forest of Myriad Forms. His face turned red, kinda embarrassed but also annoyed. She couldn't believe this kid pulled off something so sneaky. She just wanted him to let her go. Wasn't about to play nice. Instead of letting her go, he kept her trapped, making the vines keep pushing in, not stopping for a second. Homeling's voice carried through the whole spiritual realm, like everyone could hear him asking for help. Almost thought he was gonna get a nosebleed. It was wild. He could actually sense the vines in his head like they were plugged straight into his brain. He didn't even get a chance to process what was happening. His master was already down bad, begging over and over. She shot him a look, her eyes sharp but also kinda nervous. His master wasn't having it. She grabbed her weapon, clearly annoyed, and didn't waste a second. He came up with some lame excuse and dipped out fast. He had no clue Ling was faking it the whole time. As soon as he dipped, she just dropped to the floor, cheeks on fire and shaking like crazy. She was seriously embarrassed and just glad he didn't catch her in that state. Training wrapped up and went to chill on the swing with his master sitting right next to her. He couldn't help wondering about the move she'd just shown him, so he leaned in, trying to find out what that technique was actually called. Grabbed a drink and thought back to when she was watching mess around with some plants. That's when it clicked for her. Always quick with ideas, figured since it all started with flowers, they should just call it Blossom Jade Art. He turned it down right away. That name just didn't vibe with the way he handled his sword, didn't fit the serious, powerful style he had going on. After he had a sip of spirit wine, something just clicked like he suddenly knew what to call his new move. He decided on a name that sounded way too extra, the Great, Mighty, Beautiful, Divine Sword Technique. The name was so over the top that legit spit out his drink. He wondered if his master was seriously flexing his own naming skills right now, almost like he expected everyone to be impressed. Didn't waste any time and let everyone know the name was legit. He thought his master totally nailed it. Watched him messing around and couldn't help but smack him a few more times, cheeks puffed up in fake anger. Deep down, she knew that one day he'd be the one hyping up the Great, Mighty, Beautiful, Divine Sword art right in front of her. Senior caught all their teasing, while was pretty happy about it, looked uneasy. He knew that the one who falls for someone first usually ends up hurt. When woke up the next morning, his phone lit up with a new system message. It was official, he'd just taken on Yi's challenge, and now the 5-vein tournament was starting up for real. Thought about it and started getting hyped. The whole villain's senior brother thing was almost over for him. He thought he had it in the bag and started celebrating, but that didn't last long. Out of nowhere, ran in totally panicked. Turns out, fourth senior sister had already gone up the mountain by herself to face off against Ichun. Over at peak, things were starting to heat up. Shimmy's beast looked rough, barely hanging on after the fight. She hugged her summoned clothes, trying not to cry, but the tears kept coming. She felt bad for her little buddy, blaming herself for not being able to protect it. Yi-chin just stood there, grinning like he owned the place. He acted like a serious fight where it could all end in a second was just another game to him. He flashed that gross smirk, acting all confident. He was into her from the jump, no cap. If hadn't messed around, things probably wouldn't have gotten heated. They could have just been chilling under the moon instead of beefing. Couldn't take it anymore. Shidi had enough of Ichun's trashy behavior and just lost it. He always acted like his life was set, untouchable, like he was on top. But take away the big name backing him and honestly he's got nothing. He'd probably get treated worse than anyone else. Those words hit hard, calling him out for who he really was. Freaked out, getting both angry and stressed. He couldn't figure out how she found out about Elder. He made up his mind right then he had to keep her quiet. There was no way he'd let his secret get out. He stared straight ahead, eyes cold and serious, weapon ready to go. If anyone tried to stop him now, they were done for. Felt her heart beat faster, shutting her eyes tight, hoping her senior brother would forgive her for what was about to happen. Right then, a wild roar blasted down from above. Out of nowhere, a thunderbolt from the sky slammed down hard. Dropped down right in front of his eyes, straight up cold. When you started picking on a girl, someone stepped up, totally ready to shut him down. The second saw this, she couldn't help it. Tears started rolling down her face, but this time it was because she finally felt safe. Shot a quick look over his shoulder at her. He saw the bruises on her and that fake smile she tried to put on, and that's when his anger just snapped. He got hit with real fear, like this was new for him. Something was definitely off. How did this guy get so strong out of nowhere? He started thinking maybe he had been secretly working with him behind the scenes. If things kept going like this, he knew he'd be toast at the 5-vein tournament. He pushed his sword ahead, trying to turn things around. Moved way quicker than anyone expected. Every punch and kick just whiffed right past him. Froze when he suddenly realized a ton of vines were popping up all around him, wrapping him up before he even knew what was happening. Everyone around couldn't believe what they were seeing. They stared at, completely thrown off by what he'd just done, like he was on a whole different level. He raised his sword fast, stopping the vines coming at him. In his head, he tried to get Elder's help, hoping backup would show up soon. Elder didn't hesitate. He let Ron know straight up that there was no way he could take the guy on while they were stuck inside this barrier. Never listened to anyone, which is probably why everyone called him a brute. When it came down to facing, he didn't hold back. He went straight for his secret move, risking everything. He went all in with his 5-element sword move, dropping a metal strike that let out 1,000 slashes. The vine shield around him just blew apart. Seeing that, totally freaked out, remembering that actually got taken out by this exact attack in a past life. She got hit with something she totally didn't see coming. He managed to block the hit, but he was clearly struggling, while still looked as strong as ever. Noticed right away that he was still behind. He'd been saving this move for the 5 Meridian tournament, planning to completely crush his opponent there, but decided to use it now instead. He lifted his sword, blood running down and soaking into the grip, locked in and about to go all out with his biggest move, the great 5-element annihilation sword. Kept quiet and just pulled out his weapon. Right then, everything in the story pretty much fell apart. His whole plan to level up and get back home was out the window, but honestly didn't feel bad about it. If anything, he felt lighter, like he could finally breathe. He thought about everything his master taught him over the years and realized it was finally time to step up. This time he was all in. He gripped his sword, ready to show off the insane moves his master drilled into him, and was fully set to end things for that guy once and for all. The elders could tell right away that Yi had no shot at stopping that move. He told Yi he should put in more work and run laps for another couple weeks if he really wanted a shot at taking down. Just does his own thing every time. Elder had been keeping it together for over 50 episodes, but now he finally snapped. He looked at the kid like he couldn't believe what he was seeing, basically calling him clueless for thinking he stood a chance. Whenever jumps into a fight with him, he ends up taking some of that golden destiny energy her master gave her. The guy hiding out in the Chinland sect, stealing chances from everyone. His head was spinning. He just figured out that the dude everyone thought was a nobody was actually the one messing up his life from the start. Elder's voice came through the ring, sounding totally let down. He basically told him that if he couldn't figure it out by now, he should just toss the ring because he was over it. At the end of it all, just took off running, glanced over to see how was doing. He thought about how useless he felt. No matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't take out you to protect his senior brother. Looked at her senior brother and remembered how he used to be back when they were kids, chill and gentle, not trying to act all tough. She honestly liked him way better like this and just wished he would drop the whole fierce act for good. Singing can't shake the worry that she might never run into her senior brother from back when they were kids. Stopped for a second, then quietly lifted her up. He was set on getting her home himself, just nodded, eyes shut, tears still on her cheeks. Luckily, after his master checked her out, turned out to be fine. No real injuries, just passed out for a bit. His master started wondering about it. Why did dislike the brutes that much? His brain started racing. No way he could admit it was because of him. So he just made something up, figuring maybe she saw ye as straight up bad news just like he did. When he heard that, his master's eyes lit up and he leaned in, looking interested. It was like he was actually impressed by how sharp his shower senses were. Right when the two were locked in, staring each other down, suddenly woke up. Didn't waste a second, he rushed over to her. Ying stretched her arms out wide, like a little kid wanting to be picked up, looking at her senior brother for a hug. Looked over at his master, who honestly looked amazing standing there. He could tell right away dude was totally jealous. The master looked over and just told him that his junior sister had just been through something tough. As the older brother, it was on him to go check on her first. After saying that, she turned around, took a big gulp of her wine, and didn't bother glancing back at the two of them hugging. Was caught off guard by how bold got. While the master sipped his drink, she leaned in and breathed softly right into his ear. He noticed the guy wasn't fighting back and the boss didn't even glance his way, so just grinned, clearly up to something. She took his hand and placed it right over her chest. Her chest felt tight, and she wanted her senior brother to help by massaging it. His face turned red in a second. He couldn't believe was actually going through with it. This was just getting too awkward. Then Master cleared his throat, breaking the tension. Quickly yanked his hand away. Wasn't about to just quit. She felt pretty terrible inside, but she really wanted a moment alone with senior brother. He sat there, drink in hand, not really bothering anyone. He couldn't figure out why this kid was acting up like he was in the way or something. Right after getting called out, instantly started tearing up. Quickly wrapped his arms around her, trying to calm her down. He had no idea the master let out a quiet sigh behind his back. She stepped outside, not really sure what else to do. As soon as she walked out, totally switched up. She looked at her senior brother like she'd been waiting for this moment forever, grabbed his face and kissed him like she didn't care who saw. His face turned red on the spot. Yet again, another first kiss gone this month. Out of nowhere, pushed him back, looking freaked out. He couldn't help but wonder how this guy got so good at everything. He definitely didn't have his first kiss with. Really didn't want his senior brother getting messed up by those two older girls. Even if it was about another girl, didn't care. His mood dropped fast. He'd seen this meme way too many times. Right then, the system showed up out of nowhere, hyping him up for acting like a total jerk. It handed him 10 sketchy pill packs and 5 random pairs of stockings as a reward. Zoned out, thinking hard. He realized he only had 3 junior sisters and 1 master, so he started wondering who the extra set was supposed to be for. Barely had a second to react. Right now, all that mattered was getting to chill out. He grabbed some white stockings from his bag, ready to show her something cool, but just frowned and looked away, not even interested. She acted like was being weird and wanted nothing to do with it. Her body just straight up turned back, and she had no idea what was going on. He had made these socks on his own, thinking they'd look awesome on her legs. With legs like hers, he knew they'd seriously stand out. His face lit up right away, and he couldn't help but grin wide. She got quiet and started acting shy again, hinting that maybe could help her put them on. Just shook his head, waving it off because he knew that'd be crossing the line. Out of nowhere, he saw this pale, perfect-looking foot reach out in his direction. Was hurt and really didn't want to get up, so she needed her senior brother to step in and help her out. Always had everyone's back. As the older guy in the group, he never slacked off. He carefully slid the white stockings onto her legs, making sure she was comfortable. The smooth, chill feel against his skin had totally content. Out of nowhere, she got this idea and just went for it. Her foot slid over toward him without even thinking about it. She figured he'd see the loose thread right under her shoe. Scans the area, double-checking everything. He can't spot the thread anywhere and starts looking around, getting a bit impatient. He barely had time to look around when that smooth, jade-looking foot just tapped his forehead quick and easy. Stepped back fast, trying to figure out what was up to. Looked like she just got called out for something she didn't even do. Owns those socks and so does, so what was the point of taking her socks? Always had this secret, he used to swipe stockings, something he was never proud of. But since he had to keep up his bad guy image, he just powered through it. He knew giving in to his own wants would only mess him up, but somehow the sight of a smooth, jade-like foot still got to him. That kiss was wild enough to make the system hype him up, dropping a bunch of rewards that seemed totally busted. His face turned red. She was clearly embarrassed. Meanwhile, got hit with a system notification out of nowhere. It told him he just unlocked the heaven-devouring immortal art, a move straight out of the heavenly realm, just handed to him like it was nothing. Could barely believe how wild this system was getting. He slammed his fist into the wall, totally fed up. That set off another system reward. Since he'd just lost it for no real reason, totally on brand for a villain, the system dropped him the ice jade from the sect. At first, the system dropped artifacts and skills, but now it kept tossing out weird stuff. Honestly, had no clue what it was after. He just wished it would finally make sense for once. For a second, the system just sat there, not saying anything. Then it finally dropped a line saying that if wanted to win on this immortal path, he had to do it standing up. The whole riddle vibe left totally stumped. He sat on his bed with his legs crossed, not even thinking about training. He didn't want to risk leveling up by accident. He remembered how the story went and started thinking up ways to make the junior sisters chill out and not like him so much. After thinking about it for a while, he realized the only plan that actually made sense was the one where he had to swipe the pills. 3 days later, showed up at the alchemy room, sticking to the plan just like the story said. He checked the area again, but Yuchin, the big guy, was gone. Nobody had eyes on him. Still, he had no idea how he was supposed to grab the pills now. He asked his younger follower what was up, and found out the brute was off doing some closed-off training. Something about that just didn't add up. Even though the system said nothing was wrong and told him to get back into character and keep going, just let out a sigh and decided to roll with it anyway. He headed back to his room and swapped his clothes for something more comfortable to sleep in. Out of nowhere, half of a jade pendant slipped out of his pocket, just stopped like his brain hit pause. He hadn't even remembered he still had it with him. Back in the day, he remembered this gentle girl. She'd actually broken that pendant in two. She de-thanked him for having her back, even promised that if she ever became empress, she'd bring him along to the top. Now, when thought about that little kid from way back, it really hit him in the feels. All these years later, he couldn't help but wonder if she ever made that dream real. He had no idea his dream was already reality. That little girl, she grew up to be the Northern Queen, leading 800,000 troops. Turns out she was actually the brute's little sister. Whenever he thought about his sister, his mind started drifting into wild territory again. He'd already hit up, and in just a few days she'd roll in with her crew and wipe out the immortal sect. Was basically done for. He didn't have a clue you wasn't the same girl he used to know. Now everyone called her the Queen of the North. She showed up with these long legs, dressed in black silk, and had this vibe that just took over the room. You pulled out her half of the jade pendant. Popped into her thoughts. She was set on tracking him down. Nothing was gonna stop her now. While everyone else was chilling, threw on his night gear and got ready to sneak out. He was set on grabbing those pills before the 5 Meridian tournament kicked off. Right as he was about to dip, ran in, tears all over his face. He blurted out that senior sister was in real pain from her injury and needed help ASAP. Looked annoyed, he could tell was capping, probably just trying to get him to eat ice cream again. He wasn't planning to go anywhere. He told them to let her know he had stuff to do, had to drop off some medicine for his master out at Cliff. Just stood there kind of spaced out and nodded. He checked out his outfit and wondered if it really made sense to show up like that when he was supposed to be showing respect to his family. Was lost for words, but had already convinced herself that senior brother was cooking up some big plan. Could tell the guy had no idea what was going on, so he just kept quiet and headed straight for the alchemy room. But before he could even make it halfway, someone stepped in and cut him off. Riding a sword through the sky in the middle of the night, seriously, what squad is this dude repping? He better get out of the way. Rung Rung, rocking a skull mask, just sprinted at him, not saying anything. Didn't waste a second, he sent 3 flying swords straight at his target. He went all out and used his ultimate move, Forest of Myriad Forms. Out of nowhere, vine-shaped tendrils shot out everywhere. Barely had time to react before a bunch of vines wrapped her up, holding her in place no matter how much she tried to move. Just moved his finger and the vines pulled even, making it impossible for her to get loose. He wanted answers, so he wasn't letting her go anytime soon. Even though she was tied up, honestly felt like she was just chilling in his arms. Nothing about it bothered her, and if anything, she kinda liked it. She got super lightheaded and just dropped right there. Had no choice but to show her real face, and the second she did, he just stopped in his tracks. He couldn't believe it. Why was standing right there? Got played by 2 younger girls back to back, and that's when it hit him, something was off. It was almost like they'd peeped his plan to sneak out tonight and were throwing every move to keep him locked down. He had no clue what was happening. Out of nowhere, his head started pounding hard. He looked down and saw his junior, Rung Rung, in his arms. She just popped up out of nowhere, covered in blood, struggling for every breath. She barely managed to tell him to run and leave her behind. Right then, a wave of memories crashed into his head, each one worse than the last. It was almost too much for him to handle, and he was barely holding it together. Blood spilled from his mouth as he started coughing hard. With the system backing him up, he started to steady himself again. After a bit he opened his eyes, still dazed, trying to figure out what just happened. He figured it'd be smarter to get Junior's sister out of here first, then handle the whole pill-stealing job. Junior's sister showed up early and was already hanging out outside the alchemy room waiting. Out of nowhere she caught some noise coming from behind her. She just jumped in, eyes shut tight, lips ready for a kiss, not even stopping to think. Yanked off his face cloth fast. He couldn't believe someone was already trying to kiss him without even knowing who he was. Flashed a soft smile like she was totally chill. She knew she'd remember her senior brothers sent forever no matter what happened, even if she wasn't around anymore. Stood there rocking a night outfit right in the middle of the alchemy hall, not really blending in. He scratched his head, trying to figure out what to say if someone asked. There was no way he could just admit he was there to cause trouble. When looked at her, she just seemed so clueless. That's when something clicked in his head and he got a new idea. He took off his own robe and put it over her shoulders. He noticed looked cold, so he showed up to make sure she was alright. He didn't want her getting sick. Wei's older brother always seemed to have it together, even from a distance. That quick moment of kindness from him really got to her, and she felt herself softening up, almost forgetting everything else. When she finally snapped back to reality, was already gone. She didn't waste a second. She sprinted straight for the pill storage warehouse. Already pulled it off. He held the stolen pill and couldn't help but smirk, feeling pretty proud of himself. His clone kept the junior sisters busy while his real self swiped the pill, and honestly he thought he nailed the whole thing. He didn't see it coming. She was still the real deal. She'd already figured out what he was planning before he even made a move. While he was down there plotting, she was on top, totally in control, like she was helping out but also flexing a little. Honestly, why even bother sneaking a tiny pill when she's already 3 steps ahead? The original pill had already been taken care of a while back. The one in his hands now was actually the Bodhi soul-boosting pill made by Senior. Grinned, clearly loving the moment, her lips brushed with a hint of color. She knew that as long as kept the item on him, its power would kick in, making it way more likely for him to take down Yi. Was totally clueless. The next day he showed up at the alchemy room, thinking something wild might have gone down. But the elder just told him everything was chill last night, nothing out of the ordinary. The 4 girls from Divine Wan Peak just stood off to the side, quiet and keeping to themselves. Almost wanted to just break down right there. He'd put himself through all that chaos to swipe the pill yesterday, but now nothing was happening at all. He was ready to pull out the pill and basically out himself as the guy who stole it, but as soon as his hand went for his robe, he just stopped cold. He started searching everywhere for his big pill, wondering where it disappeared to. Froze for a second, not really sure what just happened. Right then let out this chill, quiet laugh from behind him. She could tell right away that he hadn't been sleeping much lately. He looked out of it like his brain was running on empty. Noticed her eyes get all squinty with that smile, and right away, he knew she had something to do with whatever was going on. He figured he'd just go for it and asked if he could swing by her lotus cave later. When got back with his master, he didn't waste time. He just went straight to the point, wanting to know why his master had given him the sword intent infusion before. He started thinking about that time when you tried to stir things up. He wondered if the other person was already clued in before it all went down. He really just wanted to understand what was going on. Getting played for a fool wasn't on his agenda, so today he needed everything laid out straight. No games, just the real story. When he started asking questions, Ling just went quiet for a bit. She gave a soft smile. She knew that learning more about the world could weigh a person down and make life less fun. Still, she wanted him to remember one thing: no matter what came up, she'd always have his back. He didn't need to stress, he could just chill and enjoy life like when he was a kid. Saw that gentle smile, and just like that, all his doubts faded away. She looked a little embarrassed after that. She remembered how she took a shower before meeting him. It was actually her first time trying to be a master, and honestly she was scared she might mess up and ruin his future. Now that you've heard everything, it probably seems like your master is kind of a joke. Pretty embarrassing, honestly. Listened to her and something weird started stirring inside him. He always saw himself as the bad guy, so getting that kind of kindness from his master just didn't make sense to him. He couldn't hold it in anymore, so he leaned down and gave his master a quick kiss on the forehead. He couldn't even explain to himself why he went through with it. His master freaked out at first, then totally backed away like he had no clue what just happened. He tried to act all serious and started telling him off, but honestly it was kind of funny. This dude was definitely getting bolder, even pushing it by showing up like that, no chill at all. Jumped in to clear things up. He let his master know that where he's from, a forehead kiss isn't weird at all. It's just how younger people show big respect to their elders. He pulled out a strip of black silk and handed it over, kind of like a way to make up for everything. He called it black silk, saying it would just level up anyone's looks. With this thing, no one else would even come close. Checked out the black silk and thought it felt pretty smooth. Looked at her, waiting to see what she'd do next, and that got her face heating up all over again. Had swiped her ice silk stockings on the low, and she'd known for a while that he was into that kind of thing. But when it came to black silk, that was a no-go. As the boss of her branch, there was just no way she'd ever wear those for him. So she came up with some reason to get him out of there. She kept turning the black silk over in her hands, checking it out from every angle. Honestly, this kid never takes anything seriously, always messing around, never acting normal. Thinking about the way looked at her, all hopeful, she just couldn't stay mad. She made up her mind on the low, thinking if actually took down Yi at the Five Branches martial meet, showing up in that outfit just for him might really be on the table. While all this was going on, was just chilling like always, not really doing much. He'd been zoning out, just staring at those sex life tablets for days straight. Out of nowhere, a bunch of jade tablets hanging up top just cracked and broke all at once. Got what was going on. The sect master's own disciples were gone, they didn't make it through the fight. The mission at City, where everyone was gearing up to take on the demon sect, was just about to kick off. Right after that, the sect master's voice blasted over the eastern gate, calling every branch head and disciple to the main hall right away. At the same time, dark clouds started rolling in, covering the whole sky. Strolled out, hands tucked behind his back, moving at his own pace. The vibe outside was starting to shift. It felt like things were finally turning. Before he dipped out, he made sure to remind one more time to get off the mountain early and stay safe. He didn't even realize it, but as he walked away, saw him differently, like he stood taller than before. Before long, every top disciple from each peak showed up in the meeting hall. He showed up acting like he owned the place, totally full of himself. His confidence barely lasted a few seconds before everyone started looking at instead. If people thought you was smart, was just on another level, like, dude was built different. Losing all that attention made you seriously mad. Barely said anything, but that was enough to set him off. His anger just fizzled out, turning into this useless frustration. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't win in a fight or even argue back. All he could do was clench his teeth and feel embarrassed. Things played out pretty much like before. Yi and Waning each took charge of their own squad and started heading straight for City. Wei Wei and Ron Ron got picked to go with them. Was pretty happy with how things turned out. What really threw him off was at the departure ceremony the next day. Ron stepped up first and made her oath, and that caught him off guard even more. His master showed up to see everyone off, and she was rocking the black silk he'd given her. She looked a little embarrassed but still called out to him, and seeing her like that, almost couldn't handle how cute she was. Off to the side, Junior's sister watched everything, feeling jealous and kind of crushed. She planned to give the ring she made herself, but the master beat her to it. Kept picturing the smooth black silk wrapped around her master's legs. That thought just made her feel even worse, and tears started dripping down her cheeks, slow but steady. That night, the squad made it about 30 li out from City. Didn't even get the chance to say he was tired. The two younger girls ran up, looking hyped. They told their older brother that this mission was no joke and suggested they chill for a bit to get their energy back. Just froze up, totally confused. Those were supposed to be his lines, but someone else already said them. Now he had no clue what he was supposed to do next. Just decided to go with the plan and took a break. The two girls started clapping, looking way too happy about it, like they were in on some inside joke. Everyone else was caught up doing their own thing, but started thinking back to the storyline from the original novel. The next day they'd come across two different paths. One looked chill with birds and flowers everywhere, while the other was straight up creepy and freezing. Always played it safe. As a bully, he stayed away from anyone who seemed tough, picking the easiest targets and never messing with anyone who could actually fight back. At the end of that road, he was about to take on the main boss for this part of the story. Right then, came through with a pot of pork rib soup in his hands. People couldn't stop hyping up his cooking, and honestly, they liked how chill he was too. Rubbed the back of his head, looking a bit awkward. All the attention was on him, but honestly, Senior Sister was the real MVP for bringing the ingredients. His face turned red, and he hurried everyone to start eating before the soup got cold. Picked up the teapot, shooting a look. She wanted him to pour some green tea first, since everyone knew green tea was her go-to. Right away, the two women locked eyes across the table and just kept sipping his soup, totally unaware of what was going on. Out of nowhere, one of the disciples dropped to the ground and barely managed to say that the soup was poisoned. Suddenly, everyone was looking at like he was the main guy behind it all. Reached out fast, grabbing, and it threw off. He started to freak out inside. Honestly, he had no clue what was going on. Grabbed the bowl of chicken broth and downed it, trying to prove his point. But right after he finished, he ended up collapsing just like the others. Watched as the disciples dropped one by one, and his whole body went stiff. He couldn't help but wonder if some demon spy had actually slipped in among them. He finally shut his eyes and just crashed, knocked out cold from sleep. He never saw it coming. The person behind everything wasn't some random stranger. It was Wei Wei, his junior sister, who always looked a little too into him. Tonight she decided that was all hers, no one else. With knocked out, Wei Wei just stood there, rocking a weird, secretive smile. She was right there about to take the win when out of nowhere someone spoke up and stopped her. Third junior sister grabbed onto senior brother, but someone wanted her to back off right away. Stepped in front of her, blocking the way. He looked at her confused, wondering how she managed to avoid getting poisoned. Saw her and just grinned. He'd known his third sister forever since she was little. If she ever tried to lie, her whole face would freeze up, so there was no way she'd be able to pull off something wild like poisoning someone. When showed up with the soup and mentioned that the ingredients were from him, it was clear he couldn't meet her eyes. The guilt was written all over his face. He decided not to drink any, and honestly, that call turned out to be spot on. Sighs went cold like she just flipped a switch. In her head, she decided that if things were gonna go down like this, she wasn't holding back. Tonight, she was locked in. Senior brother had to be hers no matter what. Rung just grinned even bigger. He clearly wasn't planning to throw hands with anyone. He'd timed it perfectly. By now, you could tell the other guy was starting to get drowsy, about to pass out. Out of nowhere, Wei Wei realized the tea from earlier was spiked too. Right after her body went weak and she just dropped. Strolled over and used his finger to tilt up's chin. He could tell she'd been plotting for a while to get senior brother's attention. He spent way more time thinking about this guy than anyone probably realizes. Decided if Wei Wei was going to mess with senior brother, then she'd make the first move. She went in and kissed Wei Wei while he was too stunned to do anything about it. She licked her lips like she owned the place. That first kiss, no way it's ever going to be senior brother's. She glanced over at Yi, who was out cold, and figured she should just pick him up and take him back to the room first. Looked at him while he slept, and honestly she couldn't hold back anymore. She leaned over and kissed him, making up her mind right then that once everything was over, she'd get him out of there and take him somewhere far away. Right after that, her cheeks turned red. She realized she'd just kissed her junior sister and then went straight to kissing her senior brother. It hit her, they basically just shared a kiss without even meaning to. That didn't really matter right now, because suddenly showed up in front of the corpse demon Taoist from the sect. She didn't say anything, just took him out in one hit. She reached down into the dirt and grabbed a concentration pearl. Back in the main story, this was honestly a solid artifact, and it ended up with the... There was no way he was going to let get his hands on it. She'd already decided she wanted to have it as her way of showing she liked him. She started daydreaming about how awesome things could get, but then out of nowhere, some creepy voice broke the moment. A demon cultivator showed up, barely wearing anything. He looked over and Ron just stopped moving like he was stuck or something. She froze, totally thrown off, while he walked over with his tongue sticking out in a way that was just nasty. He wasn't trying to scare her though. He let her know he wasn't the same as that weird corpse demon Taoist, he was only into guys. He decided to give a heads up before finishing things, showing a bit of mercy just this once. Ji was known as the young boss of the Soul Hall, repping the Soul Heaven sect. He looked down at the little girl, already thinking about how she could help him get stronger. Rung squeezed her eyes shut, too scared to look. This time around, she'd been grinding hard since she was a kid, and didn't waste any time teaming up with to get payback for her parents. She never let herself take it easy, not even once. Over time, she became everyone's favorite second disciple at Divine One Peak. She realized she hadn't really changed, she was just as weak as before. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. She wished she could talk to her senior brother since there was still so much she wanted to say to him. Out of nowhere, just yelled for everything to stop. Lightning lit up the whole sky as he dropped down, looking totally fired up. Paused, eyes wide, she recognized him right away. Was that really her senior brother? Looked up fast, his face straight up showing how freaked out he was. Stared straight ahead, eyes cold, looking like he was ready to throw down at any second. He knew if he didn't take off right now, he was done for. Lightning came crashing down from the sky, wiping out the young lord of the Soul Hall in an instant. He didn't even get a chance to figure out how the once fading immortal sect could still have someone this strong. Right after stepped out, woke up and opened his eyes. He was just faking it before, but by doing that, he ended up finding out what his junior sister was really like. After more than 10 years playing the bad guy, he realized he was actually the innocent one all along. Even the dog system probably didn't see that coming. Grabbed his head, totally stuck. There was no way he could finish the mission like this. Even with the mission going on, what really had him stressed was thinking about Ron. For Junior, his sister always came first, no matter what else was happening. Glanced at Yin's body and just scoffed. In his mind, if this guy didn't even know how to pull off a proper, he seriously had no business calling himself the Soul Hall's young lord. He wrapped his arms around and moved quick, knowing they couldn't hang around here. This spot was sketchy, so he was ready to bounce. By then, heading out wasn't an option anymore. Out of nowhere, this weird paper thing came flying right at both of them. When the paper talisman came at them, stayed totally chill. He didn't freak out or anything and just let his junior sister know he had it under control. He snapped into his friendly mode, handing out non-stop good vibes to Boy, making sure he didn't miss a single angle. Boy's heart started pounding so fast, it felt like his head was about to explode. He straight up burst, blood going everywhere. In the original story, this dude got roasted non-stop by. What did just now basically played out the same scene all over again. He realized his brother's mouth was insanely strong too. Junior's sister snapped out of it and passed the concentration pearl over too. This thing was seriously next level. In the OG story, it was one of Yi's best artifacts. With it finally in his hands, really didn't want to hand it back to Yi. He stood there not sure what to do next when this older guy, looking like he just walked out of some fancy party, showed up right in front of them. Yuan used to be the top disciple at Peak, and he was personally trained by. Just like he had switched worlds too, he used to just give up and let himself fade away since his system couldn't handle it. Yuan was down for a while, but after his younger brother died, he found the drive to get back up. He stepped up, ready to shut you down before he could wreck the Qinglan immortal sect. He was set on grabbing the concentration pearl at first. He realized the guy standing there was. Yuan slipped back into his old habits, just wasting time again. Turns out, the guy who beat Yi Qin twice is the real deal here. Guess the pearl's staying with him for now. Couldn't help but notice how this guy kept flipping from one mood to another. Honestly, it had him questioning if the dude was all there. He grabbed his little sister's arm, already set to bounce. Yuan wasn't done yet. He stepped up and said he had 3 things everyone needed to hear. Sometimes you don't even realize how strong you really are. When stuff falls apart in life, it usually means you just flip the script on your own future. Next, he had to look out for his crew. If there was someone he cared about, he wasn't shy about it. He showed it for real. He wasn't about to let some random loser mess with the people he cared about. When heard this, her face went bright red. She moved fast and grabbed Sarm, making it clear he was with her. She wanted everyone to know she had things handled and didn't need anyone else getting involved in their business. Yuan stayed chill, not showing any emotion as he said the third one. He knew having real power means you've got to handle the weight that comes with it. Someday, when the demon sect would cause chaos everywhere, was supposed to step up, but honestly he just saw himself as some side character and didn't take any of it to heart. Right when things started to settle down, a new boss showed up close to city. Yuan stepped up and decided to hold things down so everyone else could get out safely. That's when Chao realized this guy was probably way more than he seemed. He just lay in bed that night totally wide awake. Ever since he showed up on the mountain, everything started going off script. His junior sisters were acting weird, and even Yuan, who was basically just a background character before, stepped up and gave him a heads up. Couldn't shake the feeling that these people weren't just part of some story anymore. They were real, like they had their own lives going on. He wondered if being the bad guy really meant he had any shot at taking down a main character who seemed to have everything handed to him by fate. Didn't really get himself at all. After sitting there for a bit, he pulled the blanket over his head again. He figured he'd just play his part for Yi and wrap up this last scene like he was supposed to. Even the system basically tapped out and started spamming notifications. It was all congrats, your heaven-devouring immortal art just leveled up. His cultivation had jumped from golden core straight to manifestation realm. He shot up from his bed, feeling this wild surge in his core, like his whole body was packed with energy. He was hyped to finally unlock his real Dharma form. Suddenly, a long sword covered in golden lightning just popped up out of nowhere. Just couldn't vibe with his sword. In the main story, everyone else showed up with these insane, decked-out Dharma forms that had all eyes on them. But his sword, it looked so basic, almost like he forgot to customize his character before joining the squad. He remembered that in the main story, he was just some random golden core dude, nothing special. That thought calmed him down, so he just flopped back onto his bed, trying to ignore everything and zone out again. Right then, Wei Wei showed up. He looked uneasy and asked if he could crash with his senior brother for the night. After what happened with the drugs, her reputation was basically ruined. Really wasn't about to let her come in. He kept saying guys and girls shouldn't get too close. Meanwhile, he was just standing there without a shirt on. Wei Wei's cheeks went red instantly. She swung the door open and just stepped right inside. Quickly grabbed the blanket, pulling it up to cover his chest. He had no clue what Wei Wei was up to. She looked serious, like she was about to drop something important on him. She sat down on the bed and started leaning in, taking her time. Just froze, not even thinking about moving. Wei Wei had his mind made up today. He played it cool, acting all innocent to hide what he was really up to. Her hand slid under the blanket. She just reached out and took hold of his handle without hesitating. Froze, his face going pale. He watched his junior sister finally let go. Stayed totally calm, not even a little bit thrown off. Her face turned red, but she looked kind of proud about it. She'd been hitting the books since she was a kid, so she actually knew some stuff about biochemistry. She leaned against his abs, telling him she showed up tonight to study with him. Snapped and shoved her back. Needed to chill because all the younger girls from the sect were hanging around outside. If anyone caught them right now, both of them would be totally done for. No way they'd be able to show their faces in the sect again. Just stood there not moving as tears started sliding down her face. She glanced at, eyes looking down, and made it clear she wasn't asking for anything. All she wanted was to know the truth. Couldn't even answer when he tried to figure out if he liked her or Rome more. The question just had him stuck. Things got even worse when the door swung open again. Sister stepped into the room. Third junior sister had zero chill. She just grabbed onto senior brother like it was nothing. Meanwhile, second senior sister popped up out of nowhere, and it hit him that she'd been following him the whole time. From the second they saw each other, the two just started going at it with words, not holding back at all. Stood off to the side, kinda shaking, because now his junior sister's drama had landed right on him. He couldn't help but wonder if things were ever fair around here. Out of nowhere, stepped up and grabbed his arm. She figured it was better to just rip off the band-aid and let the truth out so nobody would drag things out longer than they needed to. In her head, kept thinking if her senior brother never liked her, then why did he always have her back even when she was out for payback as a kid? Why did he go solo to save her in city? Plus, when it came to looks, she was pretty sure she already had beat. The junior sister held onto his other arm, basically telling him to quit being so soft and get senior sister to focus up because her daydreaming was messing with her training. Always thought was into her the most. He'd been helping her fix her zither since they were kids. That move with the hot handle earlier. Yeah, she took it as proof he cared. Both women looked right at him and wanted an answer. Felt the pressure big time. The sweat on his back was instant. He hopped down from the bed and pointed outside, getting the guys to check out the night sky. He let a couple of quiet tears roll down his face. In his mind, he saw himself as the moon, always there, lighting up those two stars. For him, the night only felt right when all three of them were together. That's what he'd been trying to get across this whole time. Those words had both of his junior sisters totally hooked. Both of them rushed over and just collapsed into his arms, tears streaming down. They realized they'd been thinking way too small. He could tell they didn't want him to get down about it. Deep down, they knew they were still family. No point in letting dumb arguments mess that up anymore. Had this chill, confident smile on his face. He was always that easygoing, good guy type, and honestly, the way he handled those intense junior girls, he just had a way of making them drop their guard. He was just too smooth with it. In the end, both his younger sisters really had his back. All three of them crashed on the same bed, just like they used to as kids, and everything felt chill and peaceful. Even though he had someone holding onto each arm, just stayed cool. For the first time in forever, he felt this warmth inside, almost like he'd found something he didn't know he missed. For him, this place actually felt like home. If he wasn't stuck playing the villain and the junior sisters weren't meant to be the heroes, maybe they could have just been a chill, happy family. No matter what he did, he knew this was coming. After tonight, he'd have to walk away from the spotlight. He started to get this uneasy feeling in his chest. He knew if he let himself slip any further, coming back would be impossible. The system didn't make a sound, which was weird, just dozed off in the silence. Showed up early the next morning with some wild news. There'd been a huge fight in city the night before, and the demonic cult got absolutely wrecked. Heard the news and just kept it moving, leading his junior sisters right back to clearing out demons. All over the spots near city, they went around wiping out these spirit veins that the cult had messed up. Couldn't help but notice how his junior sisters kept finding every single one dead on, and that got him seriously wondering what was up. After all that went down, nobody wanted to cross paths with Yi. The group just dipped out and headed back to their own squads on their own. Junior's sister had already been waiting for a while. As soon as she spotted, she just ran up and hugged him without even thinking. His hand brushed against the silk, realizing she had those white tights on again. They felt way too smooth, and he tried to push the thought out of his head fast. He tried to keep his cool but was all over him, acting super clingy like a cat that won't leave you alone. The way they were hanging out so close definitely caught the attention of the other junior sisters. Wei Wei and both had that same look on their faces, like they just called a timeout. It was clear they weren't about to let the youngest one get ahead of them. Both senior sisters shot annoyed looks his way. They clearly didn't want anyone getting too close to senior brother. He had to check in with the sect master, so they made it obvious no one should mess with him right now. Leaned into once more, totally brushing off what everyone else had said. Could tell everyone was giving him those deadly looks. Back in his old life, anime had moments like this where the main guy would totally get wrecked. Turned around, showing them the face she wasn't supposed to have. She was just hoping her senior brother would notice her, even if it was just for a second. Deep down, she wondered if being goofy made her someone he'd never care about. The two older girls heard that sad voice and their attitudes changed right away. Ying was honestly pretty clueless. No way her plans could be that messed up right. Right then, the two of them decided would stick with for the time being. Ying lit up right away, totally smiling. Back in the room, once it was just them, she dropped the whole obedient act. Started saying sorry for leaving her out of the missions. Messed around, sticking her tongue out and just plopped herself right onto his lap. She wasn't mad at all. After waiting forever, she figured she deserved something for it. Got told to give the dome a shot. She leaned in, getting real close, her lips just about to touch his. She thought about how her senior brother always acted like he didn't get what she wanted, even though it was obvious to both of them. Right as she leaned in for another kiss, reacted fast and shoved her off. He let her know he cared about her, but it was more like how an older brother looks out for his little sister. Kissing her on the lips would take things somewhere totally different. Eyes started to go red after hearing that. He remembered the time he kissed his senior brother back then. The guy didn't push him away or anything. He knew Yi had hurt him, so he tried not to bring it up. Even though he was grown now, some things were still kind of wild to say out loud. When heard it, even he got embarrassed. He just kept talking nonstop. Even though he tried to play it cool, his body totally gave him away. Started looking for something while she was still in his arms.
Lately, I've had a strong addiction to watching manhwa and manga recap videos. Every single day, I find myself binging one after another, losing hours and days doing absolutely nothing productive. And honestly, it's getting out of hand. So, maybe we can make these viral videos too. I mean, look at the views, the growth, the community these creators are building. It looks simple, right? But that's a trap. You go down this endless rabbit hole, spending money, losing sleep, hiring editors and writers from Fiverr and Upwork, and still feel like you've been robbed. Because don't forget how emotional the YouTube algorithm can be with making videos go viral. It's unpredictable, especially when the market's saturated, competition's relentless, and somehow other creators are dropping 10-hour videos daily while you're stuck trying to finish one. That's when I realized something had to change. So, I built the solution, the Webtoon Narrative Suite, a complete one-click system that handles everything from cropping, script narration, text-to-speech, image processing, and full video generation in one smooth process. Save money, reduce hours of work, and have a tool that only gives you straight results. Click on the link down below and experience it for yourself. And if you want even more tools to supercharge your YouTube recap journey, visit my Ko-Fi and Patreon pages where I drop weekly new tools designed to keep you ahead as AI continues to steal our jobs. So tap in now before you get left behind.